Chapter 621. In the Sea of Spirit Domain, in a dark world where heaven and earth Yuan Qi rampaged. The death target has appeared again. A dark figure in a black cloak looked in a certain direction of the Sea of Spirit Domain while holding a token of death. Amidst the violent Yuan Qi storm, his body was like a ray of light in the shadow, safe and sound. Buzz. The death medallion in the death guard's hand gave off a strange ripple and sent out a message. Unfortunately, in this Sea of Spirit Domain where the vital energy is restless, even the message of the token of death can't be sent far. The death guard muttered. After a while, the death token in his hand shook for some reason as it received a few messages. Very good. A cruel grin appeared on the death guard's face. Xiao. A dark, shadowy ray of light merged into the dark, chaotic Sea of Spirit Realm. Meanwhile, the enormous golden-scaled dragon ship quickly moved forward in the Sea of Spirit Realm where the Yuan Qi storms were wreaking havoc. Again. Zhao Feng opened his eyes, which flickered with a purple glow. A terrifying destructive aura was emitted from his body. He got up and left the room. The golden-scaled dragon ship would arrive at the true martial sacred land in a few hours. Unexpectedly, he sensed the aura of death hunt again at this moment. Zhao Feng frowned slightly, his expression solemn. At this time, he seemed to be waiting for death on the golden-scaled dragon ship. However, even if he left the golden-scaled dragon ship, he might not be able to escape the detection of the death hunt. I can't miss the chance to enter the true martial sacred land. As his thoughts raced, Zhao Feng made a decision. At the same time, Zhao Feng believed that the Golden Mountain sect, as a two-star peak sect that had entered the true martial Holy Land, was not to be trifled with. There were a large number of experts from the Golden Mountain sect on the golden-scaled dragon-scaled ship. Time passed. Zhao Feng sensed the danger of death in his soul growing closer and closer. An hour later. Xiao. 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 In the distance, 2 or 3 shadow-like rays of light tore through the air and flew over. After a while, even the experts on the golden-scaled dragon-scaled ship sensed the strong aura of death. Who are you? On the golden dragon-scale ship, Old Li and the other half-step kings roared. Zhao Feng stood at the side of the ship and stared coldly at the shadows of death. Death Guard. There are actually 3 of them this time. Zhao Feng's eyes turned cold. Judging from their auras, it was clear that the 3 death guards were much stronger than the ones he had defeated previously. 25th Guard, 19th Guard. The target is actually on a ship belonging to a powerful 2-star sect. The 3 death guards slowed down as they approached the golden-scaled dragon ship. The person who spoke was guard number 28. Compared to guard 33, these 3 death guards were undoubtedly stronger. This was especially true for the 19th guard, whose aura of death was enough to make half-step kings feel uneasy. However, facing the golden dragon scale ship that was guarded by 200 to 300 experts, even the 3 death guards were a little hesitant and did not attack immediately. Humph. 3 death guards are not enough to fight against the golden dragon scale ship. Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief. With the protection of the golden-scaled dragon ship, he was not worried. It's a bit tricky, but no one can stop the intent of death. Guard 19's voice was deep and hoarse. Whoosh! 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 The 3 death guards discussed among themselves before flying toward the golden-scaled dragon ship. Who are you? There were 3 half-step kings on the golden-scaled dragon ship, led by the white-bearded Old Li, instantly. An explosion sounded in the soul dimension as 3 half-step void god realm intents pierced through the limitless ocean, causing the chaotic heaven and earth Yuan Qi to pause. Under the aura that could shake one's soul, the martial sovereigns present were suppressed and couldn't move. However, the 3 death guards were not afraid of the half-step void god realm intents. Clowns. Guard 19 exclaimed as a monstrous intent of death rose from his body, knocking away the half-step void god realm intents that were close to him. Bang! In the soul dimension, they felt like the world was spinning. Some of the elites on the golden-scaled dragon ship whose cultivation was lower than the martial sovereign spat out blood and fainted. Intent of death, could it be the legendary death guards? The three half-step kings of the Golden Mountain sect were startled. At this moment the entire golden-scaled dragon ship activated its defensive array as if it was facing a great enemy. The three half-step kings and nearly 10 late-stage and peak Great Origin Core Realm sovereign lords floated in the air above the golden-scaled dragon ship. Guard 28. Guard 25 and I will stall these old undyings. Your 10,000 Shadow Chaos technique is more suitable for killing that brat. If that kid is difficult to deal with, then according to the minimum requirement, behead him completely, and we can still basically complete the mission. Guard 19 said with his divine sense. Understood. As soon as Guard 28 finished speaking, his figure suddenly split into 10, then into 100. Schwa! 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 In an instant, hundreds and thousands of figures of death appeared around the golden-scaled dragon ship. It was hard to tell which one was real and which was fake. Don't even think about it. The three half-step kings of the Golden Mountain sect tried to attack, but they found that they couldn't tell which was the real Guard 28 in a short amount of time. At the same time the three half-step kings faced Guard 19's powerful attack. Death Soul Hand. The 19th guard's body was shrouded in an aura of death. His shadow-like body was shrouded in a layer of mysterious light, and his figure could no longer be seen clearly. Whoosh! 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 Three ghostly white hands of death stretched out from the deep, endless light. It was a ghastly sight. As soon as the Death Soul Hand shot through the air, the souls of the three kings shook. Not good. Watch out! The white-bearded old Li exclaimed in shock. However, that Death Soul Hand was an extremely special soul forbidden art. The moment it was unleashed, it locked onto the souls of the three half-step kings. The souls of the three half-step kings froze, and they felt like they couldn't breathe. In the next instant the bodies of the three half-step kings were grabbed by the Death Soul Hand, and their faces were filled with pain. Elder Li! Everyone on the golden-scaled dragon ship exclaimed. Guard 19, who was the strongest among them, instantly used the Death Soul Hand to stop the three half-step kings. Death Soul Hand. There's such a powerful forbidden technique that can directly grab the target's soul. Zhao Feng took in a cold breath. His god's spiritual eye saw everything clearly. The souls of the three half-step kings were being grabbed by the Death Soul Hand, and they were struggling. This could be expected. If it was just one half-step king, the Death Soul Hand would be able to take away their soul. However, the 19th Death Guard had captured three half-step kings by himself. How heaven-defying was his strength! Of course, the souls of the three half-step kings had also increased dramatically, and their half-step void god realm intents were fighting back against the Death Soul Hand. Arg! The 25th guard took action, and the shadow of death flashed, killing a Great Origin Core Realm Sovereign Lord. Everyone, team up and stop him. Almost 10 late-stage and peak Great Origin Core Realm Sovereign Lords reacted and teamed up against the Death Soul Hand. Whoosh! The Death Soul Hand's battle power was shocking, and it was able to fight against so many Sovereign Lords. How is this possible? The experts of the Golden Mountain sect on the golden-scaled dragon ship felt their hairs stand on end. The strength of the three Death Guards was too heaven-defying. The 19th Guard was suppressing three half-step kings by himself. The Death Guard fought against the Sovereign Lords and stalled the other Sovereign Lords apart from the three half-step kings. What about the last one, the 28th Guard? Arg! 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 Hundreds and thousands of figures of death charged into the golden-scaled dragon ship, and screams sounded. The defensive array of the golden-scaled dragon ship didn't seem to have any effect on the Death Guard. Damn it. As the three half-step kings and Void God Realm Intense fought against the Death Soul Hand, they sensed the situation below and their hearts sank. The experts on the golden-scaled dragon ship would probably be slaughtered by Guard 28. Because, the top 3 half-step kings and nearly 10 late-stage and peak Great Origin Core Realm Sovereign Lords were being stalled by Guard 19 and Guard 25. Once Guard 28 finished his slaughter and joined the battle, he would be able to affect the upper echelons of the battle. However, what was unexpected was that Guard 28 only killed some of the obstacles. Guard 28 easily killed some of the obstacles in his way. Brat, if you don't give up, I'll take your head. Junior, if you don't surrender, I'll take your head. He wasn't as dumb as Guard 33, who wanted to capture Zhao Feng alive. He wasn't as stupid as the 33rd Guard, who wanted to capture Zhao Feng alive and had his hands and feet tied, only to be killed instead. As long as Zhao Feng resisted, he wouldn't capture him alive. Instead, he would kill him. After all, Guard 19 and Guard 25 were facing a lot of pressure. Attack! We can't waste too much time. Guard 19's voice sounded. A 2-star force that's able to enter the spiritual sacred land is not to be underestimated. Once a Void God Realm King arrives, it'll be troublesome. Guard 25 said. Someone on the golden-scaled dragon ship had already crushed a message talisman and sent a message to the main headquarters of the Golden Mountain sect. The 3 Death Guards didn't want to destroy the golden-scaled dragon ship, nor did they care about winning. They only had one goal, to kill Zhao Feng. Die. Several dozen figures of death leapt toward Zhao Feng, who was standing on the side of the ship. Each of them has their own offensive power, and their auras are different. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye was open to its limit. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never seen such a monstrous doppelganger technique. The Death Shadow doppelgangers that Guard 28 was dragging were similar to the shadow doppelgangers that Zhao Feng used to create with the Yin Shadow Cloak. However, after entering the limitless ocean, the Yin Shadow Cloak's grade was too low, and it wasn't very useful. Looking closely, Zhao Feng jumped up in fright. The Yin Shadow Cloak that he used in the past was similar to the cloaks of these Death Guards. From the looks of it, the Yin Shadow Cloak that he used before seemed to be a replica, and the one on the Death Guards was the real deal. Whoosh! Whoosh! Under the attacks of hundreds and thousands of Yin Shadow doppelgangers, Zhao Feng's body was instantly engulfed. Purple Lightning Wind Ring. Suddenly, dazzling violet halos of destruction shot out, giving off a terrifying aura of destruction and annihilating everything in their path. Bam! 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 The Death Shadow doppelgangers were instantly destroyed by the destructive power of the purple destruction wind lightning. The power of destruction, a power that's comparable to the power of death. Guard 28 was slightly dazed. Wisps of black smoke appeared on his true body as the purple lightning wind rings attacked him. Chapter 622. Purple Lightning Wind Ring. With a wave of his hand, Zhao Feng's purple lightning wind ring successfully countered Guard 28's Death Shadow doppelgangers. If this was before Zhao Feng reached the Origin Core realm, he wouldn't be able to destroy any of the Death Shadow doppelgangers. This was because each Death Shadow doppelganger had offense and defense close to the Great Origin Core realm. The power of destruction, a power that's comparable to the power of death. Guard 28 obviously didn't expect Zhao Feng's purple destruction wind lightning to be so strong. The aura of destruction contained within it made him wary. The fan universe had the 8 great god eyes. There was the death god eye that corresponded to death, and there was also the destruction god eye. From this, one could see that the laws of destruction contained within the purple destruction wind lightning were very unique. Now, Zhao Feng had basically comprehended the purple destruction wind lightning, and because his true yuan had absorbed a large amount of the ancient dream realm aura, his destruction aura and the essence of wind lightning surpassed the wind lightning emperors. Scythe of Death. A scythe filled with death chi condensed in Guard 28's palm, and it shone with a cold light. The instant the Scythe of Death appeared, countless experts within 100 miles felt their souls tremble. It was as if their souls were exposed in a world of ice and snow, like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. A sense of danger also appeared in Zhao Feng's soul dimension. Guard 28's Scythe of Death was similar to Guard 19's Death Soul Hand, and it could directly threaten the soul. Slash. The instant the Scythe of Death appeared, it locked onto Zhao Feng's soul. Shoo. The cold scythe, which was shrouded in a gloomy aura of death, drew a translucent line in the air. Zhao Feng's soul went cold, and he felt as if his soul was being cut by a knife. Whoosh! Without any chance to dodge, the Scythe of Death slashed toward Zhao Feng. It was a matter of life and death. A layer of blue water covered Zhao Feng's body. At first glance, Zhao Feng seemed to be in a deep and boundless lake. All attacks from the outside were like stones sinking into the sea. Even the Death Scythe suddenly dimmed by more than half after it struck Zhao Feng. Buzz! The deep blue ripples on the surface of Zhao Feng's body suddenly shook and dimmed, revealing a crack. The attack from Death Guard 28 was simply too powerful. With his water bloodline, Zhao Feng's defensive power could easily neutralize the attacks of 2 or 3 ordinary supremacies, but he could not withstand the Scythe of Death. Humph! 70% of the Scythe of Death's power is a Soul Dao attack. Guard 28 wore a mocking grin. That was to say, Zhao Feng's water bloodline could only neutralize most of the physical attacks. He couldn't defend against the 70% of soul attacks. Chi! An illusory shadow of a sickle slashed into Zhao Feng's soul with an extreme aura of death. Boom! Zhao Feng's soul shook, and the lake of eye bloodline power within the dimension of his left eye started to ripple as the shadow of the sickle slashed through it. Woo! Zhao Feng's body froze, and he harumphed. Putting aside the attacks on the soul level, the material attacks of the sickle of death alone were extremely corrosive and strangling to life functions. A soul attack condensed from the power of death that kills the target's soul. Struggle appeared on Zhao Feng's face. A sickle-shaped gash was left on his body, and the aura of death invaded his body. Even his water bloodline could only slowly heal the damage. Brat, it's your honor to die to the Scythe of Death. Guard 28 revealed a victorious smile. In terms of strength, he was much stronger than Guard 33. His Scythe of Death had a 40 to 50% chance of killing even half-step void god realms. Even someone as strong as Guard 28 could only use such a powerful soul technique 4 or 5 times a day. Humph! A cold roar shook the soul dimension, and the smile on the Death Guard's face froze. Eye of Ice Soul. Zhao Feng's left eye shot out an ice blue light, and an extreme coldness covered the Death Guard's body. He's not dead. Guard 28's heart went cold, and his consciousness seemed to freeze. His movement started to slow down. In his vision, the cold-looking young man had a head of blue hair that was as deep as the ocean, and his left eye was like an icy abyss. How can a small origin core realm survive the Scythe of Death? Guard 28's heart went cold, and his reactions were much slower than usual. Hee, a soul attack. A mocking smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Ever since he merged with the god's spiritual eye, he had never been at a disadvantage in the soul dimension, even when the difference in strength was huge. Within the dimension of his left eye, the mysterious whirlpool at the center of the eye water lake controlled the entire lake. The incorporeal death scythe had already been completely absorbed. Zhao Feng's soul was unharmed. That's impossible. Even a half-step void god realm wouldn't be able to escape unharmed. Shock started to spread on Guard 28's frozen face. The Scythe of Death was 70% a soul attack and 30% a physical attack. However, Zhao Feng managed to block 70% of the soul attack, and only a few wisps of the physical attack managed to injure Zhao Feng. However, Zhao Feng's state of existence had reached the limits of the Great Origin Core realm, and it contained an ancient aura, so he wasn't injured. Void Space Eye Slash. A surge of eye bloodline power appeared from Zhao Feng's left eye, and the aura of destruction flashed through it. Not good. Guard 28's heart jumped as he remembered why Guard 33 was defeated. Guard 33 had the Death Shadow body, and as long as his soul wasn't destroyed, he could recover it. Guard 33 sent information about Zhao Feng to the other Death Guards. Guard 28 had heard of the Void Space Eye Slash before. He was just about to dodge, but he found that his thoughts and actions were much slower than usual. Now that Zhao Feng's soul was extremely condensed, his eye bloodline power was much stronger than before, and the Eye of Ice Soul had significantly reduced the Death Guard's reaction speed. Whoosh! A sharp blade radiating an aura of destruction pierced through Guard 28's body. Guard 28 tried his best to dodge, but he was only able to avoid the Void Space Eye Slash piercing his heart. However, even then, the Void Space Eye Slash sliced through his body, and the power of destruction destroyed his organs as well as his heart. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's comprehension of the purple destruction wind lightning had almost reached 100% completion, and the laws of destruction contained within the Void Space Eye Slash were several times stronger than before. Just a little bit more. Zhao Feng was just about to use the Void Space Eye Slash a second time. Now that his eye bloodline power had become so condensed that it could allow him to use the Void Space Eye Slash 10 times. Shwa! 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 Guard 28 turned into hundreds and thousands of doppelgangers of death. Some of the doppelgangers overlapped with his true body while others attacked Zhao Feng. Wind Lightning 100 Shadows. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he used Guard 28's doppelganger technique with his left eye, and a ball of purple lightning radiated from his body. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, Zhao Feng's figure turned into 2 flashes of purple lightning. The 2 flashes of purple lightning split once again. 2 flashes, 4 flashes, 8 flashes, 16 flashes. In a short period of time, dozens of purple lightning shadows enveloped an area of 300 meters in a flash of lightning and wind. It was hard to tell which one was the real one, and all of the flashes of purple lightning had the ability to attack. That brat, how does he know my 10,000 shadow chaos technique? Guard 28 exclaimed in shock. Although the number of flashes that Zhao Feng had created wasn't even 1/5 of the number of Death Guards, the laws they used were extremely similar. What was even more incredible was that, these wind shadow clones formed a subtle formation with each other. In the surrounding area, purple lightning rippled and formless wind pressure formed a restrictive pressure. This Death Guard's doppelganger technique is similar to the Yin Shadow doppelganger from the Yin Shadow cloak. And in my wind and lightning inheritance, there's also the phantom lightning afterimage movement technique. Zhao Feng's true body merged into the several dozen flashes of lightning. This was the foundation. Zhao Feng was able to easily copy Guard 28's 10,000 shadow chaos technique. He merged the strengths of both sides. Zhao Feng's wind lightning 100 shadows used the skeleton of wind lightning to create flashes of lightning that could unleash the lightning fast speed of the wind lightning inheritance. On top of that, these flashes of lightning seemed to use the curse of 100 corpse array as well, and they complemented each other. At this moment in time, these flashes of lightning clashed with Guard 28's Death Shadow doppelgangers. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the flashes of lightning clashed, they destroyed each other. Due to the restriction of his cultivation, Zhao Feng's wind lightning 100 shadows wasn't as many as Guard 28's, so he was soon at a disadvantage. Brat, I'll find your true body soon. Guard 28 had a dark expression as he merged with the many Death Shadow doppelgangers. Seeing this, the number of flashes of lightning that Zhao Feng had became fewer and fewer. Eye of Ice Soul. A cold voice that could pierce one's soul started to spread from Guard 28's body. I've been found. Guard 28's body froze, and his reaction speed decreased. He could even predict that the next round of the void space I/ would arrive. However, he couldn't accept how Zhao Feng was able to find out where his true body was so quickly. His 10,000 shadow chaos technique created many death shadow doppelgangers, and their auras overlapped with each other. Even half-step void god realms wouldn't be able to see through his true body. Void space I/. A wisp of I bloodline power formed a whirlpool that enveloped Guard 28. Dodge. Although Guard 28's reaction speed was slow, he was able to move his body in time to avoid being injured. Being a death guard, he also had the undying shadow body. As long as his vital organs weren't destroyed, he wouldn't be afraid of normal attacks. Shwa. The illusory blade arrived as expected and pierced through Guard 28's body. Arg. Guard 28's body froze as he screamed in shock, and fear spread through his eyes. Seeing this, an illusory blade radiating with the aura of destruction slashed toward the Death Guard's waist. The difference was, this illusory blade was half the length of a person, and it was several times larger than before. An enlarged version of the void space I/. Zhao Feng laughed lightly. Shwa. The Death Guard's waist was cut open from the inside to the outside by the void space I/, which overlapped and overlapped. Guard 28 couldn't help but look down at his waist. Plop. His body was sliced in two by the strengthened version of the void space I/. Chapter 623. The strengthened version of the void space I/ was longer and wider than before. The scariest part about the void space I/ was that it could suddenly appear out of nowhere. It could move objects through the air to a specific location. Even if there was a life form there, it would still merge with it. This attack was hard to dodge, and it could basically ignore any physical defense. Brat. Guard 28 was enraged and shocked after being cut in half. The Death Guard had the Death Shadow body, so even if the lower half of his body was cut off, he wouldn't be affected for a while. Purple Destruction I Flame. Zhao Feng was already prepared. He unleashed his I bloodline power and launched a second attack. Whoosh! The roaring purple destruction I flame was like a fireball dozens of yards wide, and it radiated an aura of destruction. After reaching the origin core realm, the pill core would form a stronger pill flame. Zhao Feng's pill flame corresponded to his true yuan, which was the purple destruction pill flame. It contained the elements of wind and lightning, as well as the laws of destruction. Not good. The Death Guard's figure flashed as he tried to dodge. The attack speed of an I bloodline was extremely fast, and it was hard to dodge under normal circumstances. In terms of destructive power, the purple destruction I flame was stronger than the void space I/. However, the purple destruction I flame had a trajectory, and with Guard 28's speed, he could still dodge it. Humph. A mocking smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Whoosh! The purple destruction I flame howled in the air and changed its trajectory, landing on the lower half of Guard 28's body. Crack! Boom! Boom! The lower half of Guard 28's body exploded as it was burned by the purple destruction I flame. My body! Guard 28 screamed miserably as he watched the lower half of his body being burned by the purple destruction I flame and turned into a pile of charcoal. Although the Death Shadow body was an immortal body, it wasn't a complete immortal body. The lower half of his body had lost its source of energy and protection, so it couldn't fight back against the purple destruction I flame. How long can you fight for with only half of your body? Zhao Feng snickered coldly in his heart. Because the Death Guard was too fast, it was hard for him to aim for the heart. He could only increase the size of the void space I/ and cut off a part of the Death Guard's body. In reality, the purple destruction I flame was only aimed at the Death Guard's body. If it was aimed at the Death Guard's torso, it would be difficult to cause any substantial damage. Junior, I will grind your bones to dust. Guard 28 had never been humiliated like this before. He condensed another scythe of death in his hand, and the upper half of his death shadow body pounced at Zhao Feng. This time, he changed his strategy. Sickle of Death, focused on material attacks and chose to fight in close combat. Death Scythe Dance. A trace of madness appeared in Guard 28's eyes as the Scythe of Death, in his hand, formed a cold shadow of the Scythe of Death. Puff! 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 Zhao Feng's wind shadow clones rapidly shattered under the Death Scythe shadow. Oh no! Facing the Death Guard's desperate counterattack, Zhao Feng once again felt the pressure of death. After all, there was still a big difference in strength between him and the Death Guard. Previously, the Scythe of Death was 70% a Soul Dao attack and 30% a physical attack. However, even then, the 30% physical attack had injured Zhao Feng, and he had only recovered by half. This time, the Death Guard's counterattack contained 30% of the Soul Dao attack to lock onto Zhao Feng, while the other 70% was a physical attack to destroy Zhao Feng's body. It could be said that the threat of this attack was double that of the previous one. Eye of Ice Soul. Zhao Feng's left eye once again unleashed the power of Ice Soul to restrict the Death Guard's reactions. Wings of Wind and Lightning. A pair of purple wings of wind and lightning that were several yards long formed behind Zhao Feng's back. His speed and control over the power of wind and lightning increased dramatically. Whoosh! The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back fluttered as his speed reached the maximum. His current speed had already surpassed most sovereign lords. Stop! The Death Guard wouldn't be able to catch up to Zhao Feng in a short amount of time. Firstly, he had lost his legs, so his battle power and speed were both restricted. Secondly, Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul continued to lock onto him. At the same instant, in the air above the golden-scaled dragon ship, Guard 19 used his Death Soul hand to stop the 3 half-step Void God realms. The souls of the 3 half-step Void God realms radiated a powerful Void God realm intent that turned everything within half a mile into a vacuum. Normal sovereign lords wouldn't be able to get close. He can at most last a dozen or so breaths. Guard 28 still hasn't finished off his target. Guard 19 felt a lot of pressure. After all, he was fighting against 3 half-step Void God realms by himself. These 3 half-step Void God realms all came from powerful forces that had entered the spiritual sacred lands. On the other side, Guard 25 wasn't having it easy either. He was fighting against so many late-stage and peak Great Origin Core Realm sovereign lords by himself. The 2 Death Guards looked to the other side from the corner of their eyes. What they saw made them jump up in fright. Lightning flashed in the area where Zhao Feng and Guard 28 were fighting. Guard 28 was in a tragic state. His legs had been destroyed, and he only had half of his body left. The information was wrong. When did the target reach the middle stages of the small origin core realm? His battle power is so strong. The hearts of the 2 Death Guards dropped. According to the news from Guard 33, the target's cultivation was only at the half-step origin core realm. If it weren't for the fact that any of the Death Guards was wary of him, they could easily kill him. Scythe of Death Dance. Guard 28's Scythe of Death turned into a whirlwind of black blades that chased after Zhao Feng. Shwa! Shwa! The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back fluttered, but he wasn't able to face it head-on. It wasn't hard for the spectators to see that Zhao Feng was going around in circles with the Death Guard. The Death Guard only had half of his body left, and his speed was limited. As time passed, his battle power would decrease. As long as I can last for half the time it takes to make tea, the Death Guard's battle power and speed will decrease by half. Zhao Feng knew that the longer he dragged things out, the higher his chances of victory would be. How could Guard 28 not know this? He also knew that Guard 19 wouldn't be able to last long against 3 half-step Void God realms. Die! Guard 28 roared, and the Scythe of Death shot out toward Zhao Feng with a whirlwind of black blades. Boom! With the scythe of death as the center, a terrifying whirlwind of black blades of death swept over. Not good. Zhao Feng was locked onto by the scythe of death, and just like last time, he couldn't dodge. Furthermore, the speed of the scythe of death was too fast. Ha ha ha. Guard 28 laughed savagely. On the other side, the expressions of Guard 19 and Guard 25 changed, leave his head intact. This pursuit of death was different from the past. The Emperor of Death had told them to capture him alive and leave his corpse intact. At the very least, they needed to leave his head intact. After all, the Emperor of Death wanted to steal the ninth god's eye. As Zhao Feng was about to be sliced into pieces by the scythe of death, even my water bloodline can't defend against it. Unless I use the water spirit divine change, but... Zhao Feng's thoughts spun. In the end, he didn't use the water spirit divine change. He didn't even use his water bloodline to protect himself. Zhao Feng's left eye stared at the scythe of death at the center of the whirlwind. Whoosh! The terrifying whirlwind of black blades of death suddenly shattered, as if it had lost its main pillar. What? Guard 28's eyes focused. Zhao Feng didn't do anything. The terrifying whirlwind of black blades of death suddenly crumbled when it got close to him. A wisp of eye bloodline power covered the area. Could it be, not good? Guard 28's heart jumped as he suddenly thought of something. He remembered the information that Guard 33 had given him. The target of death had a skill called spatial movement, which could move objects or attacks through the air. Dodge! Guard 28's face went pale white as he quickly dodged. He knew how strong the scythe of death was. It had a high chance of instantly killing a half-step void god realm. However, the teleportation attack didn't come. Guard 28 was puzzled. He could clearly feel the disturbance of space, and a certain power had taken the scythe of death away. Otherwise, the whirlwind of black blades of death wouldn't have dissipated. Idiot! Do you really think I'll move the attack to a crippled person like you? Zhao Feng snickered in disdain. Before he could finish his sentence, arg! A howl came from the sky above the golden-scaled dragon-scaled ship. Shwa! A scythe of death covered in an aura of death pierced through Guard 19's body. Guard 28, you idiot! Guard 19 was suppressing 3 half-step void god realms, and his body stiffened as he groaned in pain. So, Zhao Feng had moved the scythe of death onto Guard 19, who was the strongest. Under normal circumstances, with Guard 19's powerful senses, this move might not be effective. However, he was fighting against 3 half-step void god realms. Even if he could sense it, he wouldn't be able to dodge in time. Good chance. The 3 half-step void god realms paused, then revealed joyful expressions. 3 void god realm intents shattered the death soul hand in the soul dimension. Wah! Guard 19 spat out a mouthful of blood as his soul was injured. Kill! The souls of the 3 half-step void god realms returned to their bodies, so they obviously wouldn't show mercy. They surrounded Guard 19 with powerful killing techniques. How is this possible? Guard 28's face was ashen, and he didn't know whether to advance or retreat. Zhao Feng had a smile on his face, but he didn't chase after him. In reality, he had used up a lot of his eye bloodline power. The scythe of death was several times larger than his normal void space eye blades. It took a lot of energy to use it as a target for void movement. At this moment, Zhao Feng could only unleash 1 void space eye slash at most, and it wouldn't be able to kill Guard 28, who had the death shadow body. He decided to save some eye bloodline power in case something else happened. Retreat! Guard 19, who was on the golden dragon-scaled ship, suddenly ordered as he was being suppressed by the 3 half-step void god realms. After all, the 3 half-step void god realms came from a sacred land, and they had some powerful killing techniques that could threaten Guard 19's life. Retreat! Guard 28 seemed to let go of a heavy burden, and his crippled body turned into hundreds and thousands of Death Shadow clones that covered the other two Death Guards. Chase after them. Even if they're the subordinates of the Emperor of Death, we won't let them go. The white-bearded old Li roared in anger. Chapter 624. Zhao Feng returned to the Golden Dragon's scaled ship and sat down. He watched as the three half-step void god realms of the Golden Mountain sect chased after the Death Guard. It wasn't easy for him to win the second time against the Death Guard, but it was much easier than last time. Last time, Zhao Feng used everything he had, and the thieving cat had almost used up all of his eye bloodline and yuan qi. And this time, apart from the fact that he had used up most of his eye bloodline power, Zhao Feng still had more than half of his true yuan and bloodline power left. Bow ripples of blue water appeared on Zhao Feng's body and healed the injuries left behind by the Scythe of Death. That Death Guard's attack contained the power of death intent, which could cause great damage to living beings. It could be compared to destructive power. If it weren't for the fact that Zhao Feng's state of existence had reached the limit of the Great Origin Core Realm and he had absorbed a large amount of Ancient Dream Realm aura, he wouldn't have been able to survive the Scythe of Death's attack. Any other Great Origin Core Realm would have died without a doubt. Time passed. Zhao Feng's injuries gradually healed, and he had mostly recovered. While healing, the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect looked at Zhao Feng with deep respect and awe. There were also a small number of people who looked at him with hatred. This brat is the target of the pursuit of death and brought disaster to the Golden Mountain sect. The sovereigns gritted their teeth. Dozens of people from the Golden Mountain sect had died, and almost 10 of them were sovereigns at the Origin Core realm. 15 minutes later, whoosh. Whoosh. Whoosh, the auras of the three half-step void god realms returned to the Golden Dragon scaled ship. Looking closely, the three half-step void god realms of the Golden Mountain sect were in a ruffled state. Obviously, the pursuit of the three half-step void god realms didn't give them any advantage. One of the half-step void god realms had even lost an arm, and his expression was grim. Zhao Feng. White-bearded old Li also had an ugly expression as he gave Zhao Feng a deep glance. Zhao Feng didn't dare to waste any time and followed the three half-step void god realms. In a luxurious metal palace on the golden-scaled dragon ship. Zhao Feng, what's going on? Could it be that you're really the target of the death hunt? Elder Li said. The other two half-step kings stared at Zhao Feng with flickering eyes. Especially that half-step king with a broken arm, his eyes were cold and filled with hostility. All of a sudden, the mental aura of the three half-step kings made Zhao Feng's soul feel oppressed, and his body stiffened. Thankfully, Zhao Feng was not someone who had never seen such a grand occasion. He calmed himself down and replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. I'm indeed the target of the death hunt, but I didn't expect to be hunted down before entering the true martial saint land. Zhao Feng did not hide the truth. He was also a victim, and he was being chased by the Emperor of Death's subordinates. The sudden attack from the three death guards caught Zhao Feng off guard. Afterward, Zhao Feng answered all the questions of the three half-step void god realms. He only covered up the situation of the Purple Saint ruins and brushed it aside. After answering, the enmity on the faces of the three half-step kings eased up a little. Next, the three half-step kings exchanged glances and started to communicate with their divine sense. A while later, Zhao Feng, although this isn't your fault, it's still related to you. Once we return to the sacred land, you'll need to explain to the upper echelon of the true martial saint land. The one-armed half-step king said in a deep tone. Zhao Feng paused. Could it be that the Golden Mountain sect wanted to punish him? Little friend Zhao, don't misunderstand. The true martial saint land has suffered quite a bit this time, and as the leader, we need to explain everything to the upper echelon. All you need to do is follow us into the sacred land and cooperate. Old Li said with a smile. Don't worry, Old Li, Zhao Feng understood that Old Li was worried that he would run away. If that was the case, the three half-step kings wouldn't be able to explain themselves. Furthermore, as long as you enter the true martial sacred land, your life will be protected. Even the Emperor of Death wouldn't dare to act recklessly if he were here. Old Li comforted. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He obviously didn't doubt this. Although the Emperor of Death was strong, he wasn't an emperor from the true martial sacred land. Furthermore, if the true martial sacred land had a 3-star power, there would definitely be mystic light realm sacred lords. This was because a force needed to have a mystic light realm to become a 3-star power. Within the metallic palace, the three half-step kings sent off Zhao Feng's figure with their eyes. Old Li, are you sure that brat really has some sort of relationship with Duan Wuqing? The eyes of the one-armed half-step king twinkled. He had lost an arm in the process of chasing after the Death Guard, so he didn't have a good impression of Zhao Feng. If Zhao Feng didn't have anyone to rely on, he would have taught him a lesson already. I should be right. That brat's strength and eye bloodline are extraordinary. He definitely has an expert behind him. Furthermore, that Duan Wuqing usually cultivates in the sacred land, so most people outside the true martial group don't know his name. Old Li said in a deep tone. That's right. Duan Wuqing's strength is immeasurable, and apparently, he's been trying to break through to the mystic light realm. The three half-step king realms were filled with respect and fear for Duan Wuqing. A storm of yuan qi swept across the sea of spiritual domain. The golden dragon scaled ship returned to normal and started to head toward the sacred land. Several hours later, Zhao Feng's injuries had healed. At this moment, the heaven-earth yuan qi nearby had returned to normal. What dense heaven-earth yuan qi? It's comparable to the Purple Saint ruins. Zhao Feng was surprised. Ever since he entered the limitless ocean, the feeling he got was that the yuan qi here was thin and barren. However, entering the center of the sea of spiritual domain defied logic. After observing for a while, Zhao Feng found that the sea of spiritual domain was like the center of a whirlpool of heaven-earth yuan qi. This place was like a spring of the qi of heaven and earth in the vast void sea. We're almost there. The great origin core realm sovereign lords on the golden dragon scaled ship looked forward. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye saw into the distance. Several hundred miles away, a whirlpool of light with a diameter of 100 yards floated above the sea of spiritual domain like the sun. Within the whirlpool, there was a beautiful light, and one could vaguely make out some blurry images. This is the entrance to the heavens grotto heaven. Many people walked to the railing of the golden dragon scaled ship and looked. There were some sacred guards near the entrance, and they were all great origin core realm sovereign lords. In the sky above the many holy guards, there was a dazzling blue figure floating. It was like a ball of divine light, exuding a boundless divine might that caused the void to have an illusion of stagnation. Greetings, Grand Elder. Greetings, Lord King. The figures on the golden dragon scaled ship trembled. Void God Realm King. Zhao Feng's eyelids twitched. The blue figure in the air released a bright light, and it was like a god. Even with his eyesight, he couldn't see the figure in the ball of light clearly. Zhao Feng didn't dare to use his god's spiritual eye or spiritual sense. In reality, under the magnificent power of a king, the senses of the soul and the heaven-earth yuan qi in an area were all suppressed. The power of a king descended upon the world. It was like a mortal meeting the emperor, they didn't even dare to look at him directly. Grand Elder. Old Li and the other two half-step Void God realms flew in front of the Void God Realm King. What happened? Why did you send an urgent message to the sacred land? The figure of a male within the blue ball of light gradually became clearer. His voice was calm and emotionless, as if it came from the sky. A magnificent power descended and suppressed the soul dimension. The origin core realm experts on the golden dragon scaled ship found it hard to breathe, and their thoughts became slow. Lord King, the situation is like this. White-bearded Elder Li's forehead was covered in cold sweat. The three half-step void god realms started to report the situation to the blue-robed male within the ball of light. During this period of time, Zhao Feng suddenly felt a gaze from the blue-robed male. At that instant, his soul dimension started to tremble, and it was as if he was being suppressed by a mountain. His thoughts and consciousness were being restricted. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and didn't dare to resist. Luckily, the magnificent power only flashed by and didn't enter his body. Otherwise, one thought from a void god realm king could shatter the soul of a normal sovereign lord. This is the power of a void god realm king. Standing at the peak of the soul dimension, no matter how strong one's body is, when their thoughts and consciousness are restricted, suppressed, or even killed with one thought, then everything is useless. Zhao Feng's heart shook. He could only feel the difference in the soul dimension. Apparently, void god realm kings' divine sense could travel through the void, surpass the limits of their physical body, and possess all sorts of unfathomable power. Emperor of Death. There was a hint of surprise in the blue-robed man's voice. Instantly, the pressure descended on Zhao Feng's soul dimension once more, and his consciousness wavered. Any other origin core realm would have knelt down on the ground already. However, Zhao Feng had been training in the ancient dream realm for a long time, and the pressure he faced there was even stronger. You brought the target of the pursuit of death to the Golden Mountain sect. This will be a disaster. The blue-robed male's voice was uneasy. Old Li and the other two felt uneasy and apprehensive. Although they knew who the Emperor of Death was, they seemed to have underestimated the danger. Being a void god realm king, the blue-robed male's wariness toward the Emperor of Death was even stronger than those below the void god realm. The Emperor of Death has the Eye of Death, and he's one of the strongest emperors. In the past, a force that was close to the Golden Mountain sect was almost destroyed by the Emperor of Death. In the end, they handed over the target to avoid death. The blue-robed male's voice was urgent and full of anger. Apart from the three half-step void god realms, only Zhao Feng was able to catch a bit of the soul dimension conversation. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. From the looks of it, the king of the Golden Mountain sect was extremely scared of the Emperor of Death and didn't dare to offend him. Grand Elder, but behind this brat, there is also, the white-bearded Elder Li braced himself and explained. Right at this moment, pang! Pang! On the golden dragon-scaled ship, Zhao Feng's soul suddenly felt a sense of death. Who's there? The blue-robed man in the ethereal ball of light had a powerful faux god realm will that pierced through the limitless ocean, causing the world to change. At the same time, 4 death guards surrounded a tall king covered in flames over the spiritual domain ocean. The heaven-earth Yuan Qi nearby was filled with an aura of death, and everything became silent. Chapter 625. It's here again, and this time. The sense of danger in Zhao Feng's soul became stronger than ever. There wasn't just 1 or 2 senses coming from the token of death. One of them made Zhao Feng's heart jump, and his soul felt like it was suffocating. Even the blue-robed king of the Golden Mountain sect sensed it, and his expression changed. Zhao Feng's heart shook. He could tell that the pursuers this time weren't normal death guards. Shua! Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye returned to normal, and he couldn't help but take in a cold breath. In the distance, a dark gray aura of death permeated the world, covering the sky and covering the sun. The heaven-earth Yuan Qi seemed to solidify. In his sight, 4 death guards surrounded a tall figure of a king, who was surrounded by flames like a demonic god from hell. An intent of death that reigned supreme over everything passed through several thousand miles and descended here. Target of death, you've indeed come to the sacred land. A cold and spacious voice that seemed to come from the 9 serenities of hell shook the soul. At that instant, the bodies of the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect on the Golden Dragon's scaled ship shook, and their consciousness seemed to be devoured by darkness. Life seemed so small. The intent of death was still directed at Zhao Feng. Death Spirit Lord. Zhao Feng's body tensed up, and his scalp went numb as a burning aura of death spread across his body. The Emperor of Death had 4 Death Spirit Lords and 36 Death Guards. Among them, the cultivation of the 4 Death Spirit Lords had reached the Void God realm. Luckily, Zhao Feng's body and bloodline were extremely strong, and he had the protection of the God's spiritual eye. Therefore, he had it easier than the other sovereign lords. Humph. The expression of the blue-robed king was slightly ugly, and he seemed to be displeased. A surge of Void God realm intent shot into the sky and clashed with the intent of death. Instantly, the 2 magnificent powers of the Void God realm intertwined with one another. Instantly, the vast sky was filled with a dazzling blue light and a deathly still darkness. 2 completely different auras filled the air. It was as if the heavens and the earth had been split into 2, forming 2 unique domains. The golden-scaled dragon ship was protected by the dazzling blue heaven and earth territory that blocked the Death Spirit Lord's empty god power. Is this the might of a king? Many overlords on the golden-scaled dragon-scaled ship were shocked. The 2 mighty powers of kings each occupied a domain, covering the sky and covering the sun. Any one of them could kill a sovereign lord at the origin core realm. This realm, Zhao Feng's heart shook, and his senses were suppressed. Only his God's spiritual eye could barely see the power of the 2 kings. The soul auras of the 2 kings merged with the vast universe under the control of the Void God will. Their every move merged with heaven and earth, and their power was limitless, piercing through both the physical and soul dimensions. That kind of realm was beyond the shackles of life and the physical body. The soul would transform and leap, roaming the great void and stepping into the boundless universe. He had transcended from being a tiny life form to transcend into the universe. That's the ideal state of being one with the heavens. Heaven and earth are one, and one has truly surpassed the limits of the physical body. The skeletal division leader's heart trembled within the 10,000 ghost pearl. No one knew if it was out of fear or excitement. It had only heard about the Void God realm from the patriarch of the Scarlet Moon religion. Even the patriarch of the Scarlet Moon religion was only a half-step king at his peak, and he had only touched the tip of the Void God realm. Too strong. This isn't the power of a human, even hundreds or thousands of origin core realms are ants in front of the magnificent power of a king. Zhao Feng also felt small. Boom! A loud explosion suddenly sounded from the sky above. Most of it came from the soul dimension, but it also entered the physical dimension. As expected of the Death Spirit Lord. The blue-robed monarch's body flickered. He was enveloped in an ethereal ball of light, and no one could see his expression clearly. However, with his God's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng could see that the blue-robed king of the Golden Mountain sect was at a slight disadvantage. I'm one of the 4 Death Spirit Lords under the Emperor of Death, the Black Hell King. I'm here to capture this bastard. In the distance, the Flaming King didn't get close. The 2 king intents fought in the sky. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye could see the sweat on the blue-robed king's forehead and the fear on his face. On the other hand, the tall king who called himself Black Hell King was at ease. After a short exchange, the 2 kings started to communicate with each other. I only used 60% of my strength just now. If you hand over the target of death, I'll give the Emperor of Death a favor. The Black Hell King said. Humph. You want the Golden Mountain sect to submit to a mere subordinate of the Emperor of Death? How will we have the face to remain in the sacred land in the future? The blue-robed king snickered. Outsiders couldn't hear the conversation between the 2 kings. However, Zhao Feng had a feeling that his fate was in someone else's hands. His life and death would be decided by the 2 kings. However, something unexpected happened. The blue-robed king didn't submit to the Death Spirit Lord. Retreat first and return to the sacred land's Spirit Mountain. The blue-robed king looked deeply at Zhao Feng and ordered the people of the Golden Mountain sect. Go. White-bearded Old Li and the three half-step kings led the hundreds of people on the golden dragon-scaled ship towards the giant whirlpool of light. Among them was Zhao Feng. The blue-robed king stood proudly at the entrance of the whirlpool of light, covering everyone as they entered. The Black Hell King and the 4 death guards were a few thousand miles away and didn't dare to attack. The 2 kings' magnificent power lingered in the sky and didn't fight again. The entire process. The blue-robed king stared coldly at the Black Hell King and the 4 death guards. Retreat. The Black Hell King was expressionless as he turned and flew away with the 4 death guards. Lord Death Spirit Lord, you're giving up just like that. With your strength, you should be able to suppress that king. A few death guards said in confusion. This is the true martial sacred land, not our thousand forest sacred land. Moreover, a powerful sect that can enter the sacred land is not to be underestimated. It's not strange even if they have an empty god realm great emperor. The Black Hell King sighed. If they weren't near the entrance of the sacred land, he wouldn't have given up. At this moment. Whoosh! A huge, black and cold metal ship flew across the sky. Lord Black Hell King. There were a few death guards on the ship. Among them, there was a warm youth and a little girl with white eyes. Third Highness. The Black Hell King nodded and met up with the warm youth and the others. What a pity, I didn't expect the death target to grow so fast. The warm youth said regretfully after knowing what had happened. If the Black Hell King had arrived earlier, it would have been easy to kill the death target. That death target has entered the true martial sacred land. If he is protected by a powerful sect in the sacred land, it will be troublesome. The Black Hell King said in a low voice. In the sacred land of the spirit's sacred land, even the Emperor of Death wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Hee, it's not like we don't have a way out. Master is related to the great elder of the 3-star Thousand Darkness Holy Sect in the true martial sacred land. When we find the great elder of the Thousand Darkness Holy Sect, we will try to kill that Zhao Feng. There will be plenty of chances. The warm youth smiled. The Thousand Darkness Holy Sect. The few death guards were excited. The Thousand Darkness Holy Sect was a famous 3-star super sect in the Tsang Ocean. It was also a demonic sect. As an ancient void god realm emperor, the Emperor of Death had a good relationship with some of the experts of the sacred lands in the past. That's right. If we can borrow the power of the Thousand Darkness Holy Sect, it will be easy to suppress a 2-star pinnacle sect. A cold look appeared on the Black Hell King's blurry face. At the same time. Whoosh! 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 Everyone on the golden-scaled dragon boat appeared in a circle of light on a tall platform. Whoosh! Zhao Feng let out a long breath and entered an unfamiliar space. Ah! Exclamations came from the crowd. Some of the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect who appeared in a hurry felt their bodies sink and couldn't stand steadily. In the sacred land, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi gave off an overwhelming pressure. This space is similar to the ancient dream realm. The pressure here is strong and it repels auras from the outside. Zhao Feng stood motionless in his original spot. In this unfamiliar space, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi was pure and gave off a thick ancient aura. Zhao Feng and company were standing on top of a spiritual mountain that seemed to be made of jade. The sky above their heads was an azure blue, like a piece of illusory jade. Every flower, every blade of grass, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi, they all give off the aura of the ancient era. Some of the geniuses were excited and only then were they able to stabilize themselves. Inside the sacred land. Every brick, every tile, every blade of grass, every tree, every material structure, and the aura of heaven and earth were many times stronger than the outside world. Those who enter the sacred land for the first time, sit down cross-legged and rest for an hour to get used to the environment here. The white-bearded Old Li reminded. Hearing this, everyone sat down cross-legged. Those who entered the sacred land for the first time all felt the pressure of heaven and earth coming from the sacred land. Zhao Feng also sat down cross-legged. The environment of the sacred land surprised him. Even the worst place was better than the mysterious canyon in the Purple Saint ruins. The spiritual peak in front of him was 100 miles wide and was bathed in the ancient heaven-earth yuan qi. Looking from afar, the enormous spiritual peak was enshrouded in a faint, dreamy glow, like a paradise that had been separated from the world. Of course, those who entered for the first time needed to get used to the pressure of the sacred land. However, Zhao Feng was an exception. Although the pressure here is strong, it's far from the ancient dream realm. Zhao Feng murmured in his heart. He didn't feel any discomfort entering the sacred land. His body and soul had absorbed a large amount of aura from the ancient dream realm, which was even purer than the ancient aura here. Therefore, Zhao Feng was soon recognized by the aura of the sacred land, and the rejection from the space soon disappeared. His gaze started to look around again. This enormous spiritual mountain was like a fountain that constantly overflowed with vast and pure heaven-earth yuan qi. The heaven-earth yuan qi was in the form of mist. On the spiritual peak, in the faint, misty, dreamy glow, there were pavilions and palaces, interspersed with pavilions and gardens, small bridges, and flowing water. It had an antique charm, like a fairyland in an ink painting. In the sky, flickering lights and passing shadows could be seen. Powerful auras would pass by from time to time. Many extinct ancient birds and beasts could be seen. Chapter 626. This side spirit peak is where my Golden Mountain sect will be stationed in the Holy Land. Old Li stood next to Zhao Feng and introduced. The half-step kings of the Golden Mountain sect had faint arrogance in their words. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye scanned over the sacred land. The true martial sacred land has 3 main spiritual peaks and 33 side spiritual peaks. The side spiritual peaks are basically the elites of the two-star sects. White-bearded elder Li continued. As expected, Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye saw the 33 side spiritual peaks outside the sacred land. These side spiritual peaks were scattered around the true martial sacred land. Each side spiritual peak was like a spring that radiated a large amount of pure heaven-earth yuan qi. It was to the extent that every single spiritual peak was enveloped in a hazy mist, and it was hazy yet didn't lose its magnificence. Each side spiritual peak has a peak 2-star sect, and the environment here far surpasses the mysterious canyon in the Purple Saint ruins. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. Furthermore, these were just the side spiritual peaks. At the center of the sacred land were 3 main spiritual peaks that pierced through the clouds. The 3 main spiritual peaks were surrounded by the many side spiritual peaks, as if they were stars surrounding the moon. From afar, the 3 main spiritual peaks were like giant pillars that supported heaven and earth, and they gave off a feeling of being on the same level as heaven and earth. In his vision, the 3 main spiritual peaks gave off a powerful aura that even void god realm kings wouldn't dare go against. The main spiritual peaks are more than 10 times bigger than the side spiritual peaks. Only 3-star sects have the right to enter. Everyone's gazes looked toward the blurry outline of the 3 main spiritual peaks. The main spiritual peak was at the center of the sacred land. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye saw the thick heaven-earth yuan qi that was even purer than the side spiritual peaks. Could it be? Each of these spiritual peaks is the source of the heaven and earth spring. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. According to the observations of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng's guess wasn't wrong. Both the main spirit peak and the side spirit peaks had high-quality heaven and earth spring mouths beneath them, which produced endless heaven and earth yuan qi at every moment. Furthermore, the entire true martial sacred land was the center of the heaven and earth spring of the void ocean. That was why the spirit domain sea around the Holy Land was so turbulent, and the sects in the true martial island zone were far stronger than the other island zones. The main spiritual peak in the middle. One of the experts from the clan who had an eye bloodline noticed something was wrong. In the center of the sacred ground, 3 main spiritual mountains stood side by side. There didn't seem to be any sect stationed in the middle of the main spiritual peak. The main spirit peak in the middle looks like an abandoned mountain peak, and the heaven and earth spring isn't as abundant as the other 2 main spirit peaks. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye saw more clearly. The main spiritual peak in the middle was uninhabited and looked like an abandoned ruin. That's the myriad ancient sacred peak. It's an ownerless place. A great origin core realm sovereign lord sighed. The small number of experts that had come to the sacred land looked toward the main spiritual peak with complicated gazes, but they all contained deep respect. Myriad ancient sacred peak. Hearing these words, the geniuses all felt that this peak wasn't simple. Tens of thousands of years ago, there was a superpower that was about to become a 4-star sect on the myriad ancient sacred peak. White-bearded old Li said with respect and reverence. A 4-star superpower. Everyone's heart shook. I didn't think that the myriad ancient sacred peak would be the ruins of a superpower that was about to become a 4-star sect. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye saw that the peak was blocked by a mysterious power. It didn't make sense that the myriad ancient sacred peak still existed, but there wasn't a sect stationed there. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye scanned over the sacred land before taking back his gaze. The situation in the sacred land isn't as peaceful as you think. Newcomers, don't go 500 miles away from the main sect. The one-armed half-step void god realm warned. Zhao Feng understood. There were only 33 spiritual mountains in the true martial sacred land. There were many 2-star sects in the island zones, and there were 1 to 200 of them in the true martial island zone alone. Furthermore, the 3-star and 2-star sects of the sacred land definitely had a relationship with each other. Apart from the spiritual mountains, there were also large areas within the sacred land, such as forests, rivers, deserts, etc. Of course, there's something more important. There are 2 3-star sects in the sacred land, the True Mystic Sacred Clan and the Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan. Don't offend them. White-bearded old Li added. When the 2 3-star sects were mentioned, the expressions of the 3 void god realm kings became solemn, and fear appeared in their eyes. 3-star sects. The True Mystic Sacred Clan and the Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan. The rookies present all bore it in mind. Since ancient times, the difference between each star was like the difference between clouds and mud. Even if it was only half a star, there was a huge difference. Zhao Feng. A cold voice sounded from the soul dimension. In the next instant, the magnificent power of a void god realm king appeared in heaven and earth, causing the consciousness of everyone present to freeze. Zhao Feng raised his head. A ball of blue light floated in the sky, and one could faintly see the figure of a king in blue robes. Greetings, king. Zhao Feng immediately bowed. Ordinary experts would be overwhelmed by the favor of being singled out by a king, or they would tremble in fear. The king in blue robes glanced at him and said, "Come with me." As soon as he finished speaking, an invisible magnificent power pulled Zhao Feng's body into the air. Shua! Zhao Feng's body was pulled to the blue-robed king's side by the magnificent power. He couldn't resist at all. Zhao Feng was stunned. What kind of strength was a void god realm king? Normal origin core realms wouldn't even be able to think or fight back against the magnificent power of a king. Shua! Shua! The king in blue robes figure flashed once again. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng was taken to a quiet garden. The king in blue robes stood with his hands behind his back and didn't say anything. Just as Zhao Feng was feeling puzzled, Shua! The white-bearded old Li flew through the air and uneasily arrived at the garden to greet the Grand Elder. Zhao Feng realized something. The true martial sacred land's pressure was extremely high. Half-step void god realm's flying speed was greatly restricted. Conservatively speaking, normal true spirit realms weren't able to fly in the true martial sacred land. The two of you need to give me an explanation for what happened today. The king in blue robes spoke with his back facing the two. Zhao Feng and the white-bearded oldly looked at each other, and the latter had a bitter expression. If it weren't for the pursuit of death, things wouldn't have become so complicated. The cause. With the help of the eternally sealed palace lord, Zhao Feng had entered the true martial sacred land with the Golden Mountain sect's guest token. This in itself was an act of abusing power for personal gain. If it weren't for the pursuit of death, Oldly, who was a half-step Void God Realm, would have been able to protect him. Void God Realm kings were high up and didn't have the time to care about such things. Grand Elder, I have to start from the eternally sealed palace lord. Oldly didn't dare to hide anything. Under the Void God Realm intent, he didn't dare to lie. When the eternally sealed palace lord was mentioned, Zhao Feng couldn't help but feel slightly guilty. The eternally sealed palace lord helping him was indeed risky. Soon, he told the king everything about how Zhao Feng contacted the Golden Mountain sect and how he managed to enter the true martial sacred land. I'm not interested in that. I just need to confirm the truth of one thing. The blue-robed king turned around for the first time, and his gaze landed on Zhao Feng. At this moment, Zhao Feng also saw the blue-robed king's silhouette. It was a scholarly male with an extraordinary aura. Do you really have some sort of relationship with Duan Wuqing? The blue-robed king's eyes twinkled. This junior was asked by an ancestor. Zhao Feng could only explain. He repeated what he had said to the eternally sealed palace lord. Sure. I'll believe you for now. The blue-robed king didn't doubt him. He didn't believe that an outsider would take such a huge risk to sneak into the true martial sacred land. Of course. There was another possibility, which was that Zhao Feng wanted to sneak into the true martial sacred land to avoid the pursuit of death. Help Zhao Feng settle down first. I'll try to contact Emperor Duanmu. The blue-robed king waved his hand. Zhao Feng and Oldly immediately left the garden as if they had been pardoned. Right now, the most important thing was to confirm the identity of this Duan Wuqing. If this Duan Wuqing isn't the Duan Wuqing that Senior Purple Saint mentioned. Zhao Feng couldn't calm himself down. The two of them left the garden. Shua! 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 In the garden, several illusory balls of light suddenly appeared. The silhouettes were indistinct. There were men and women, some old and some young. This Zhao Feng's bloodline aura isn't simple. Even if he doesn't have the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, he's not far from it. One of the old voices said. Humph, even if he has the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, it'll be hard for him to land in our Golden Mountain sect. The most important thing right now is to confirm the relationship between this brat and Duan Wuqing. Although our sect has an emperor in the sacred land, no force isn't wary of the Emperor of Death apart from the 3-star sections. However, apart from the 3-star sects, no force isn't afraid of the Emperor of Death. Hee, no matter what, we won't lose out. Hee, whether it is or not, we won't lose out. Hee, no matter what, we won't lose out. If this Zhao Feng does indeed have a relationship with Duan Wuqing, we can give him a favor and form a relationship with the mystic true sacred clan, which will help our position in the sacred land. If he doesn't have any relationship with Duan Wuqing, we can give him to the subordinates of the Emperor of Death and obtain a favor from a peak emperor. Hearing this, the balls of light of several kings all agreed. However, Duan Wuqing is in seclusion, and it's hard for normal kings to meet him. A woman's voice rang out. Don't worry. The demigod Forgotten Garden that opens once every 500 years is about to open soon. No matter how busy Duan Wuqing is, he won't ignore it. The old voice said. Demigod Forgotten Garden. TSK, has our sect's disciple been chosen? This is a great opportunity that only comes once every 500 years. Holy Land Side Spirit Peak. Zhao Feng was settled in a guest room. In the short term, Zhao Feng stayed at the Golden Mountain Sect Spirit Peak as a guest. Duanmu Qing. Senior Violet Saint recommended him. I hope there's no mistake. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. He had a premonition that Duanmu Qing would be someone who would affect his life. Just like when he met his first master, Lord Guanjuan. If it wasn't for Lord Guanjuan, Zhao Feng wouldn't have come into contact with the clan so early. Pop pop. A purple token that looked like ripples of water appeared in his palm. Chapter 627. Golden Mountain Sect, Side Spiritual Peak. Zhao Feng took out the purple saint token once again. I've arrived at the true martial sacred land. The most important thing right now is to contact Duanmu Qing. Zhao Feng's spiritual sense entered the purple saint token. He tried to use the purple saint token to send a message to the purple saint ruins. If he could contact the purple saint partial spirit on the other end, maybe there would be a shortcut to meet Duanmu Qing. Although the Golden Mountain Sect was trying to contact Duanmu Qing, Zhao Feng wasn't going to put all his hopes in someone else's hands. However, after a long time, there was no response from the other end of the purple saint token. Maybe the purple saint ruins was too far away from here. Or maybe the spiritual sacred land itself was a separate dimension, and it was hard to send a message out. Half a day later, Zhao Feng tried to send a message a few more times, but it was like a stone sinking into the ocean. Zhao Feng gave a long sigh and shook his head. He wasn't surprised that the message couldn't be sent. His attempts were futile. Zhao Feng silently put away the purple saint token. At the same time, in the middle of the sacred ground, on a main spiritual peak that pierced through the clouds, there was a quiet and fragrant secret room. That aura just now. A stalwart man with hair as white as snow appeared. His figure was blurry as he stood amidst a radiance that resembled a blue lotus. He seemed otherworldly. The green lotus slowly retracted. The stalwart man with snow-white hair revealed a trace of nostalgia as he muttered, "Could it be an illusion?" Immediately after, an ancient divine sense swept across the entire true martial sacred land and even reached outside of the sacred land. In that instant, the hearts of the experts in the sacred land shook. Even the void god realm kings of the strong forces felt uneasy. Which emperor's divine sense is this? There aren't many emperors in the sacred land with such a powerful divine sense. The ancient divine sense caused the upper echelons of the sacred land to shake. It's him. Only a small number of emperor realm existences knew about the existence of that divine sense, and they were moved. The ancient and disdainful divine sense swept across the Holy Land and lingered for a while on the 5 or 6 side peaks in the area. Golden Mountain Sect's Side Spiritual Peak. Some of the kings and half-step kings, including the blue-robed king, felt uneasy. Because, the great emperor's divine sense had lingered here for a moment. At this moment, Zhao Feng had just walked out of the guest room to relax and understand the environment of the Holy Land. Little friend Zhao. White-bearded elderly stood by the side politely. Zhao Feng couldn't help but have a weird expression. He was only a minor origin core realm, but the Golden Mountain Sect had sent a half-step king to accompany him. Little friend, please don't be offended. This is an order from above. Elderly looked slightly bitter. Before he figured out the truth, Zhao Feng couldn't leave the side spiritual peak of the Gold Mountain Sect easily. After all, the senior members of the Golden Mountain Sect were still a little wary of Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, did not take it to heart. Having Old Li, a half-step king, accompany him for a stroll would be much smoother. Along the way, white-bearded Old Li took Zhao Feng to various places in the Gold Mountain Sect's side spirit peaks for sightseeing. It's elderly. There's also Zhao Feng. 2 voices sounded from a building up ahead. Zhao Feng looked over. There were some youths sitting near the building. They weren't very old, and they seemed to be the younger generation of the Golden Mountain sect. The person who spoke was a beauty in white, and there was also a skinny man. Zhao Feng obviously knew the beauty in white and the skinny man. Back in the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace, Zhao Feng had sparred with the outer geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect. When they saw Zhao Feng, the white-robed beauty was overjoyed. "Greetings, Elder." The disciples saluted the white-bearded elderly. "Little friend Zhao is a guest of the Golden Mountain sect. Yin Yuan, you geniuses of the same generation can interact with each other." Elder Li smiled and said. He purposely pointed out a youth with sharp eyebrows. The young man with sword-like eyebrows looked to be in his 30s. His cultivation aura overwhelmed the surrounding disciples, making him stand out like a crane among chickens. Great Origin Core Realm. Zhao Feng couldn't help but glance at the youth called Yin Yuan. If he wasn't wrong, this Yin Yuan was the senior brother Yin that the beauty in white and the head disciple of the Golden Mountain sect had mentioned. "Elder, don't worry. I'll treat you well." Yin Yuan was rather polite to Elder Li. With Elder Li's help, Zhao Feng introduced himself to Yin Yuan and the other geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect. Most of these geniuses were core disciples of the Golden Mountain sect. The beauty in white and the skinny man had just entered the sacred land, so their status was relatively low. Therefore, the beauty in white and the skinny man were closer to Zhao Feng. "Hee, you youngsters should interact with each other. I'll leave for a bit." Elder Li smiled faintly and left first. Before leaving, Elder Li messaged Yin Yuan with his divine sense and gave him some hints. "Elder, you're saying that we can't offend this Zhao Feng and that it's best if we can form a good relationship with him?" Yin Yuan couldn't help but inspect Zhao Feng. Being the only head disciple of the clan to reach the Great Origin Core Realm, Yin Yuan's eyes were obviously different. If it wasn't for Elder Li's reminder, he wouldn't even pay attention to Zhao Feng. However, Yin Yuan was slightly puzzled after inspecting Zhao Feng. In his eyes, Zhao Feng was indeed a rare genius. His cultivation and bloodline aura both surpassed the middle stages of the small origin core realm. But even then, there was no need to form a good relationship with him. Yin Yuan was the #1 genius of the Golden Mountain sect, and he was a peak genius even in the sacred land. Zhao Feng's strength is extremely strong. We've already experienced it before entering the sacred land. The lean man lamented in the crowd. Apart from senior brother Yin, we've never seen such a strong genius. The beauty in white also praised from the bottom of her heart. Just now, Zhao Feng had single-handedly killed the two of them. At that time, Zhao Feng was the same as them, an early-stage small origin core realm cultivator. The two's praise came from the bottom of their hearts, but the people nearby were slightly unhappy when they heard it. Humph. How can this brat be mentioned on the same level as senior brother Yin? Apart from Yin Yuan, the Golden Mountain sect had several other super geniuses who had reached the late stage or peak small origin core realm. These super geniuses snickered coldly in their hearts. Senior brother Yin smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Seeing that the others didn't believe them, the beauty in white and the skinny man felt embarrassed. Next, Zhao Feng followed senior brother Yin and the other geniuses around the Golden Mountain sect and chatted with them. Senior brother Yin probably just broke through to the Great Origin Core Realm not too long ago. Zhao Feng casually said. Senior brother Yin was slightly surprised. This Zhao Feng had just entered the Golden Mountain sect. How did he know that he had just broken through to the Great Origin Core Realm? One had to know that he had been consolidating his foundation and concealing his aura over the past half a month. Normally, those with lower cultivations wouldn't be able to see through those with higher cultivations. Senior brother Yin broke through to the Great Origin Core Realm 2 months ago. Everyone in the Golden Mountain sect knows about it. A late-stage small origin core realm brown-haired male replied emotionlessly. The brown-haired male wasn't happy that a middle-stage small origin core realm like Zhao Feng was treated so well by an elder and a head disciple. He had missed out on some details. Zhao Feng had just arrived at the Golden Mountain sect, so he didn't know anything about senior brother Yin. Senior brother Yin started to think, but he paid attention in his heart. If Zhao Feng could tell that he had just broken through to the great origin core realm from just one look, then this guest really wasn't simple. You don't know, but Zhao Feng fought with a terrifying existence comparable to a half-step king on the golden dragon-scaled ship and was able to escape unscathed. The eyes of the beauty in white sparkled as she described what happened on the golden dragon-scaled ship. In reality, the beauty in white didn't really see the battle between the death guards on the golden dragon-scaled ship. They thought that the three half-step kings were responsible for the victory, and that Zhao Feng was only there to stall them. After all, it was the three half-step kings who were responsible for killing him. Ha ha ha. Fighting with a half-step king at the small origin core realm? Why does it sound like one of those legends that has never been investigated? The brown-haired male and company couldn't help but laugh. Indeed. Even if a small origin core realm cultivator could only last a few breaths against a half-step king, it would still be shocking and would only exist in legends. Senior brother Yin couldn't help but smile. The words of these two people were simply too ridiculous and exaggerated. Maybe the beauty in white just wanted to raise Zhao Feng's status and solidify it. I saw it with my own eyes. If you don't believe me, you can ask elderly. The beauty in white was angry and wronged. What she said was the truth, but not only did these people not believe her, they even had mocking expressions. If elderly was present, he would definitely be able to testify. However, elderly wanted to give the younger generation a chance to talk, so he wasn't present. No one would ask elderly to testify for such a small matter. I, Zhao, appreciate your good intentions. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, was calm as he looked at the girl in white and the skinny man with a comforting gaze. After a while, soon, someone in the crowd suggested to have a spar. And, the demigod Forgotten Garden that only opens once every 500 years is about to open. The Golden Mountain sect only has 5 spots, and apparently, the competition in the demigod Forgotten Garden is extremely intense. Senior brother Yin nodded his head and said. He had just broken through to the great origin core realm, and the demigod Forgotten Garden only opened once every 500 years. He was obviously in high spirits and wanted to shock the world. Of course. There was no lack of geniuses in the sacred ground. Even senior brother Yin was fearful of some of them. If one wanted to obtain anything in the demigod Forgotten Garden, just the strength of others wasn't enough. That's right. Let's spar and learn from each other. This will help us work together after we enter the demigod Forgotten Garden. Of course, while we spar, we can't forget about our guests. The brown-haired late-stage small origin core realm had a playful expression as his gaze landed on Zhao Feng's face. Due to the beauty in white and the skinny males bragging about Zhao Feng, the core disciples of the Golden Mountain sect all wanted to see through their lies. Demigod Forgotten Garden. Interest appeared on Zhao Feng's face. He didn't put his provocation to heart. They could understand it literally. God was the heavenly divine realm, the highest realm in the fan universe. Demigods were usually peak mystic light realms that had half a foot into the realm of gods. Even the Purple Knight Sacred Lord at her peak didn't have the right to be called a demigod. Chapter 628. Towards Zhao Feng's questions, Yin Yuan answered all of them. The demigod Forgotten Garden is a secret realm left behind by an expert from a superpower that was about to become a 4-star superpower several tens of thousands of years ago. Apparently, that expert was only one step away from becoming a god, but he died to the god tribulation. Yin Yuan had a look of respect. 4-star superpowers and the heavenly divine realm were extremely far away from the experts and prodigies of the world. These were all stories that could only be found in the ancient records of myths and legends. There was no sign of a 4-star superpower in the Tsang Ocean or the 3 spiritual sacred lands, let alone the heavenly divine realm. A 4-star superpower, could it be? Zhao Feng's gaze turned toward the main spiritual peak at the center of the sacred land, the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. That's right. Yin Yuan said with praise, the demigod Forgotten Garden is on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. On top of that, there are many inheritances and secret realms on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. Some of them are even from the ancient era or even the ancient era. Everyone's gaze turned toward the 10,000 ancient sacred peak with respect and expectation. Zhao Feng understood the meaning of the 10,000 ancient sacred peak with Yin Yuan's explanation. The true martial sacred land had many powerful 2-star and 3-star forces since the ancient era. There were even some void god realm emperors and mystic light realm sacred lords. However, not every almighty would be able to find a suitable successor before they died. As time went by, some peerless experts left behind inheritances or their life savings on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak, waiting for the fated one. The inheritances left behind on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak are all at the void god realm or higher. Even the most ancient and mysterious heaven's legacy inheritance has a branch inheritance here. Everyone was filled with respect and the 10,000 ancient sacred peak was mentioned. Zhao Feng was filled with respect. The 10,000 ancient sacred peak had such a special meaning. It had witnessed the prodigies of many generations and passed down their legends and power. The demigod Forgotten Garden is on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. It's one of the top ruins and contains the inheritance and treasures of the demigod. Yin Yuan sighed. The demigod Forgotten Garden only opened once every 500 years. The entire Golden Mountain sect only had a total of 5 spots, and Yin Yuan was the first of them. The discussion about the demigod Forgotten Garden was over. Next, the true core disciples of the Golden Mountain sect began sparring in an open space in the practice field. Soon, the 2 Golden Mountain sect disciples began sparring. Zhao Feng watched with interest. This martial arts practice field only had a radius of 1,000 feet, but with the support of a special space formation, it had a radius of 10 miles. Moreover, in the Holy Land, the level of space was high, and the pressure of heaven and earth was great. Normal true spirit realm area of effect techniques could only cover a few hundred yards. To put it simply, all kinds of power Upanishads would be suppressed. One was at the middle stage small origin core realm while the other was at the late stage small origin core realm. The late stage small origin core realm genius was the brown-haired youth from before. Chaos Heaven Opening Palm. The brown-haired youth's palm was slow, but it was as heavy as a mountain. Circles of 5-colored light could be seen with the naked eye, and it forcefully pushed all the intent away. Even Zhao Feng's eyes lit up when he saw the intent within the palm. As expected of a major force that has entered a sacred land. The geniuses here have strong bloodlines and battle techniques. They can easily crush those of the same cultivation in the outside world. Zhao Feng nodded his head. If it was before he reached the origin core realm, it probably wouldn't be easy for him to beat this brown-haired youth. At the very least, the skeletal division leader's chances of winning against the brown-haired youth were small. Bam! A loud explosion resounded in the drill ground as a turbid, 5-colored palm light sent another true inheritor flying like an ancient 5-fingered mountain. Senior Martial Brother Wan, the power of your Chaos Heaven Opening Palm has reached the great origin core realm. I'm ashamed. The true disciple who was defeated had a bitter expression on his face. The brown-haired youth's cultivation, bloodline, skills, and techniques could all rival those at the small origin core realm. After winning, the brown-haired youth smiled and looked at Zhao Feng. I'm not talented, but I'm ranked in the top 20 of the Golden Mountain sect. Please give me some pointers. His tone was extremely polite and humble. Top 20. Some of the core disciples present had weird expressions. Senior Martial Brother Wan is really humble. That brat was bragged about just then. Could it be that he can't even beat a disciple ranked in the top 20 of the Golden Mountain sect? All the disciples were waiting to see a good show. The white-robed beauty and the lean man looked a little nervous, and their hearts were perturbed. After all, the two of them had greatly praised Zhao Feng's strength earlier. Zhao Feng, you have to beat him. The white-robed beauty clenched her fists with anticipation. In her heart, she admired and worshipped Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng shook his head and smiled as he entered the martial arts field and signaled the white-robed beauty and skinny man. Brother Wan, you're too humble. With your strength, it shouldn't be a problem for you to rank in the top 5 of the Golden Mountain sect. Zhao Feng stood still and smiled faintly. Hearing that, the brown-haired youth's heart shook. Obviously. Zhao Feng's eyes were very accurate, and he was able to determine the ranking of the brown-haired youth through observation. Take my palm first. The brown-haired young man didn't think too much. He raised his hand, and a powerful 5-colored palm light shot out like a 5-fingered mountain. Under the pressure of the palm, Zhao Feng's body became heavy. In the outside world, no one under the Great Origin Core realm would be able to make him feel this way. Purple Destruction Wind Lightning. Zhao Feng stood still and waved his hand, sending out a wave of purple lightning that clashed with the brown-haired youth's 5-colored palm. Crack! The mixed origin palm that was as heavy as a mountain collapsed under the attack of the purple destruction wind lightning. On top of that, wisps of purple light shot upward and forced the brown-haired youth to retreat. My Chaos Yuan palm. The brown-haired youth's face was filled with shock as he retreated. Zhao Feng didn't even use any battle skills. Instead, he thrust out his hand of true yuan. The condensed wind lightning had the power to destroy everything. Chaos Yuan Splitting Mountain, 9th Heaven. The brown-haired youth yelled as he pushed his Jin Yuan battle technique to the peak. Layer after layer of primeval immemorial palm lights accompanied by turbid 5-colored lights were like 9 primeval immemorial mountains, majestic and boundless. This attack was powerful enough to attack a Great Origin Core realm. Break! Zhao Feng softly chuckled as he punched. A fist of violet wind dragons pierced through the air, piercing through the brown-haired youth's 9-layer chaos origin palm in the simplest and most dominating way. Boom! Crack! Purple lightning swept through the palm, accompanied by a scream from the brown-haired youth. So strong! The expressions of the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect changed dramatically. Bam! The brown-haired youth's charred body was sent flying out of the martial arts field. Thanks for letting me win. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised at all. If he had used his full strength, the brown-haired youth would have been turned to dust. What a shocking intent of wind lightning. The power of his true yuan is actually comparable to a Great Origin Core realm. Even senior martial brother Yin had a solemn expression. Zhao Feng's easy victory made the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect put away their mockery and wariness. Humph. I already said that Zhao Feng's strength is comparable to some of the peak geniuses of the sacred land. The beauty in white and the disciple in black let out a breath. Let me try. A thick-browed youth jumped out from the crowd. His cultivation was close to the peak small origin core realm. This core disciple's ranking was even higher than the brown-haired youth's. However, in front of Zhao Feng, he had only managed to last one move. Boom! The devastating purple lightning wind dragon fist shadow directly shattered the thick-browed youth's Holy Land combat technique. Bam! The thick-browed youth's body was sent flying even faster. Instantly, the geniuses present all took in cold breaths. Senior martial brother Yin's expression changed dramatically. Immediately afterward another peak small origin core realm, the second-ranked core disciple of the Golden Mountain sect, stepped forward. Break! Zhao Feng sent his opponent flying with the same attack. The power of his fists had reached the level of a Great Origin Core realm, and they were extremely fast. Those below the Great Origin Core realm obviously couldn't fight back. When Zhao Feng defeated the second-ranked core disciple in the intangible soul dimension, a few wisps of obscure divine consciousnesses hovered in the sky. This Zhao Feng isn't simple. One of the Void God Realm kings said. From the looks of it, he can fight against the head disciple, Yin Yuan. At this moment in time a few kings of the Golden Mountain sect were paying attention to the battle below. The white-bearded old Li was also hiding nearby. Who knows what Zhao Feng's true strength is? Old Li thought back to what happened on the Golden Dragon-scaled ship. Back then, Zhao Feng had played a crucial role in defeating the 3 death guards. Right at this moment, head disciple senior martial brother Yin and Zhao Feng started to fight within the martial arts field. Rumble. Boom. Boom. The two forces clashed within the martial arts field. They were at the Great Origin Core realm. Zhao Feng wasn't as relaxed as before, and he moved around the martial arts field. He's still the head disciple of a sacred land after all. Zhao Feng circulated his true Yuan and even used part of his bloodline power to fight against Yin Yuan. Although Yin Yuan had just reached the Great Origin Core realm not long ago, his true strength was comparable to middle-stage Great Origin Core realms in the outside world. Senior martial brother Yin can't lose to that brat. Outside the martial arts field, the disciples of the Golden Mountain sect broke out in cold sweat. Once senior martial brother Yin lost, the Golden Mountain sect would lose too much face. After the battle, Zhao Feng suddenly exited the battlefield and smiled while clasping his hands. Looks like this battle can only end in a draw. Senior martial brother Yin let out a breath and gave Zhao Feng a deep glance. Instinct told him that Zhao Feng was having an easy time in the battle, as if he was giving himself some leeway. In the air, the divine senses of several Void God Realm kings went silent for a while. If this Zhao Feng uses his full strength, Yin Yuan won't be able to last more than 10 moves. 10 moves. Maybe 3 moves. The Void God Realm kings stood at an unimaginable level. If the geniuses of the Golden Mountain sect, especially senior martial brother Yin, knew what these kings were saying, who knew what they would think? Humph, I already said that Zhao Feng's strength is comparable to senior martial brother Yin. The girl in white said with a proud tone. In this battle, Zhao Feng's identity as an outsider genius shook the Golden Mountain sect. The divine senses of the kings moved around in the air. If this brat joins the Golden Mountain sect and enters the demigod Forgotten Garden, he'll probably be a dark horse. That's probably not realistic. That's right, Duan Muqing seems to have come out of seclusion. Is there any news from him? Chapter 629. Just as the divine senses of the kings were communicating with each other, whoosh. Whoosh. The sound of something tearing through the air came from outside the side spirit peak of the Golden Mountain sect. Who's there? This is the Golden Mountain sect's territory. Anyone who dares to enter will be killed. On the side spiritual peak, a few patrolling law enforcement enforcers shouted. However, he didn't hear those few air-tearing sounds. Humph. Just a 2-star sect. Aren't they afraid of biting their tongues? Among them, a male in a faint black ball of light radiated the power of a king of the demonic Tao. King of the demonic Tao. The enforcers of the Golden Mountain sect felt as if their bodies and consciousness had been locked down, and they found it hard to breathe. When the outline of a black-scaled male slowly appeared in the black ball of light. The black-scaled male had a scarlet-black face, and his entire body was covered in a layer of black scales. Elder of the Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan, Tu Wanli. Old Li's expression changed dramatically when his gaze landed on the king of the demonic Tao. This king wasn't just infamous, he also came from a 3-star sect of the Sacred Land, the Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan. Back off. A blue light flashed in the sky, and the figure of the blue-robed king appeared. The enforcers of the Golden Mountain sect retreated as if they had been pardoned. Only kings could deal with kings, and this was an elder of the Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan. He, Elder Tu has come to our sect personally. What can I do for you? The blue-robed king didn't dare to be rude and smiled. 3-star sects of the sacred lands were definitely super sects and unrivaled overlords. For a long time, 2-star sects of the sacred lands relied on 3-star sects or teamed up with 10 2-star sects in order to have the right to speak. At this moment in time, the scene in the sky also alerted Zhao Feng and company. The mighty power of a king of the demonic Tao surged forward unbridledly. The entire Golden Mountain sect was enveloped in a tense atmosphere. Zhao Feng couldn't help but look into the distance. There were a few familiar figures next to the king of the demonic Tao, Tu Wanli. Death guards. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat, and his expression changed dramatically. There were a total of 4 death guards, a sunny youth, and a white-eyed little girl. Is your Gold Mountain sect harboring a thief named Zhao Feng? Tu Wanli said casually. He sneered cruelly as his divine sense swept across the entire side spirit peak. Zhao Feng. The blue-robed monarch was startled, and his expression became slightly ugly. This elder of the Thousand Darkness sacred sect had brazenly come to the Golden Mountain sect to denounce them. This was too much. According to the news, the thief named Zhao Feng has entered the territory of your Gold Mountain sect. Tu Wanli saw the expression on the blue-robed king's face. Meanwhile, the warm young man and the 4 death guards flew into the sky and started to scan with their spiritual senses or divine senses. There. I found it. One of the death guards let out a low cry as he fixed his gaze on a group of geniuses near the martial arts field. You're Zhao Feng. The sunny young man smiled warmly, like a long-lost friend. The 4 death guards had gloating expressions as they stared at Zhao Feng. Take him down. Tu Wanli laughed and gave the order. The warm young man and the 4 death guards didn't hesitate and leapt toward Zhao Feng. Stop. A strong surge of magnificent power descended from the sky and caused the figures of the warm young man and the 4 death guards to freeze. The person who had attacked was the blue-robed king. What? The Gold Mountain sect is going to stop the Thousand Darkness sacred sect from capturing someone? Tu Wanli's expression became grim. Zhao Feng is a guest of the Gold Mountain sect. Even if the Thousand Darkness sacred sect is here to capture him, they need to give a proper explanation. The blue-robed king had an unhappy expression, but he cursed in his heart. There were several kings watching the Gold Mountain sect from behind the scenes, so they weren't afraid of Tu Wanli. However, Tu Wanli's actions could represent the Thousand Darkness sacred sect. Furthermore, Tu Wanli's identity wasn't simple. His master was an ancient emperor, and his status in the Thousand Darkness sacred sect was extremely high. Explanation. I'm here to capture Zhao Feng on behalf of my master, the Scarlet Demon Emperor. Tu Wanli snickered coldly as a scarlet-black token appeared in his palm. When an ancient demonic emperor intent appeared from the scarlet-black token, and it caused one's soul to shake. At that instant, the hearts of some of the kings of the Gold Mountain sect shook. The Void God realm was split into early stage, middle stage, late stage, and peak stages. Only those at the peak stage of the Void God realm, whose soul had reached the peak stage, could give birth to an emperor. Emperors were at the peak of the Void God realm. Their souls were almost immortal, and they were almost indestructible. Therefore, the lifespan of emperors was extremely long, and they could reach more than 10,000 years. It's the intent of the Scarlet Demon Emperor. No wonder Tu Wanli is so confident. The blue-robed king took in a cold breath. The Scarlet Demon Emperor was famous even among the emperors of the sacred lands. Even the emperor of the Gold Mountain sect that cultivated for a long time wasn't a match for the Scarlet Demon Emperor. Kings and emperors were forbidden forces in 2-star and 3-star sections. A powerful Void God realm great emperor could annihilate a 2-star sect, such as the Emperor of Death. When Tu Wanli took out the token of the Scarlet Demon Emperor, the kings of the Gold Mountain sect couldn't help but sigh. Under this situation, the Gold Mountain sect wouldn't be able to protect Zhao Feng anymore. Zhao Feng. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Even if you hide in the sacred land, no one will be able to protect you even if we pressure the 2-star sects through the 3-star sections. The warm youth and the 4 death guards revealed victorious smiles. At this moment, the magnificent power of the Void God Realm Kings disappeared. Zhao Feng stood alone without any protection. The Emperor of Death does have some power to be able to affect a 3-star power of the true martial sacred land. Zhao Feng snickered coldly. He stood where he was, the corners of his mouth curling up in a mocking smile. The warm youth and the 4 death guards felt that something wasn't right. At this moment, Zhao Feng had no protection and no path of retreat. How could he still be so calm in this situation? When a purple token in Zhao Feng's palm started to tremble. The smile on Zhao Feng's face became brighter. Not long ago, the purple saint token that had been silent for a long time suddenly sensed something. Furthermore, the direction of the aura didn't come from the purple saint ruins, but from the center of the sacred land. The warm youth and the 4 death guards felt that something was wrong. However, they still leapt toward Zhao Feng in a frenzy. You're the subordinates of the Emperor of Death. A voice that felt like a spring breeze was right before one's eyes, yet it seemed to be far away, giving one a sense of contradiction. In the next instant, an ancient divine sense that looked down on the world descended from the sky. The power of a void god at the level of a martial emperor made the space around tremble. Wah! The 4 death guards all spat out mouthfuls of blood. Emperor! The warm youth's figure flashed as he suppressed his boiling blood and stabilized his soul. That divine sense, could it be? Tu Wanli's body shook as he exclaimed. When the magnificent power of an emperor gathered in the sky and the heaven-earth Yuan Qi roared. The silhouette of a stalwart man with white hair that was more than 1,000 feet tall was surrounded by a huge green lotus light. He looked like a heavenly deity. Void God projection. It's just a virtual god's projection, but it contains such a powerful force. The hearts of the kings of the Golden Mountain sect shook. Greetings. Emperor. The demonic Tao King, Tu Wanli, lowered his head in front of the 100-yard-tall white-haired male. His face was bright red, and his breathing was heavy. Plop. Plop. The 4 death guards couldn't handle the pressure and knelt on the ground. Only the warm youth barely held on. He gritted his teeth as he looked at the Emperor projection and said in a trembling voice, "You know my master. Emperor of Death. We've met a few times. I didn't think that he would have such an outstanding disciple like you." The 100-yard-tall void god projection said. At this moment, the true martial sacred land broke out into chaos. Many divine senses scanned toward the side spiritual mountains of the Golden Mountain sect. It's Duanmu Qing's void god projection. I haven't seen Emperor Duanmu take action in the past 1,000 years. I didn't expect his strength to have reached such a level. Some kings and emperors in the true martial sacred land were shocked. This included Tu Wanli's master, the Scarlet Demon Emperor. Looking at the power contained in this void god projection, Duanmu Qing's strength is unparalleled among emperors. The Scarlet Demon Emperor had a solemn expression. He watched silently and didn't make a move. At the same time, the Scarlet Demon Emperor didn't understand why Duanmu Qing would interfere in this matter. Right at this moment, on the side spiritual mountain, Zhao Feng finally spoke. Greetings, Senior Duanmu. I've come to the sacred land with the intent of Senior Purple Saint. Zhao Feng held the Purple Saint token and bowed toward the void god projection in the sky. Senior Purple Saint, which expert was he? There were many divine senses on the side spiritual mountain of the Golden Mountain sect. The kings of the Golden Mountain sect, the Scarlet Demon Emperor, Tu Wanli, and the other kings and emperors all murmured this name. Purple Saint. Could it be? The heart of an old king in the Golden Mountain sect shook. Purple Knight Sacred Lord. A few ancient emperors from the true martial sacred land exclaimed. It must be the Purple Knight Sacred Lord. In terms of seniority, not many people in the true martial sacred land are comparable to her. If I remember correctly, the Purple Knight Sacred Lord is Duan Wuqing's aunt. She comes from a legendary family in the Lord dynasty far away. Some of the more experienced people recalled some of the past. In the sky, the figure of the white-haired male couldn't help but reveal a sad expression. Come with me. The figure of the male waved his hand. Shua. Zhao Feng's body was like a piece of paper had disappeared from the side spiritual mountain with the figure of the male. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng and the Emperor's void god projection were nowhere to be seen. Who the experts and divine senses near the entrance of the Golden Mountain sect finally let out a breath after a long time. On the spot, Tu Wanli still had a lingering fear in his heart, and his expression was uncertain. On the other hand, the expressions of the warm youth and the 4 death guards were extremely ugly. No one would have thought that Zhao Feng would be related to a peak emperor of the sacred land. What was even more unbelievable was that there was a mystic light realm sacred lord behind Zhao Feng. Even if a mystic light realm sacred lord was dead, his influence would still be immeasurable. Zhao Feng, your background is even stronger than I imagined. It wasn't a waste for the eternally sealed palace lord and I to help you enter the sacred land. The white-bearded oldly let out a long breath. Chapter 630. At the center of the sacred land. The 3 main spiritual mountains were like pillars piercing through the clouds, emitting a boundless aura of the heavens and earth. The main spirit peak in the center, the ruins, was the ancient sacred peak. On the left and right of the 10,000 ancient sacred peak were 2 main spiritual peaks occupied by 3-star superpowers. The main spiritual peak on the left was the territory of the Mystic True Sacred Clan. Mystic True Sacred Clan, on the main spiritual peak. In a tranquil, fragrant, and spotless library. Zhao Feng was filled with respect and uneasiness as he looked at the white-haired male in front of him. He was Duan Wuqing. Duan Wuqing had snow-white hair and his eyes were like the stars. His appearance could be said to be perfect. His skin was white and his face was like marble. Furthermore, this emperor had a warm aura, and his every action made others feel as if they were bathing in the spring wind. All in all, this was a legendary great emperor who looked perfect and approachable. You're Zhao Feng. Don't worry, even the Emperor of Death won't be able to harm you in the true martial sacred land. Duan Wuqing inspected Zhao Feng with a warm smile. Zhao Feng's emotions started to calm down. Earlier, Duan Wuqing had used his emperor projection to intimidate the kings and force the death guards to kneel. The impact of that power on Zhao Feng wasn't small. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng regained his calm and could sense the urgency in the depths of Duan Wuqing's eyes. It wasn't hard to imagine. Duan Wuqing was desperate to know about the Purple Knight Sacred Lord. However, Duan Wuqing was extremely elegant and didn't rush Zhao Feng. Instead, he calmed Zhao Feng's emotions. Next. Without needing Duan Wuqing to ask, Zhao Feng took out the Purple Saint token and started to talk about the Purple Saint ruins. The first time he entered the Purple Saint ruins and the second time. Zhao Feng also mentioned that he had once defended the Purple Saint ruins. Of course, the main point was that Zhao Yufei had been chosen as the successor of the Purple Knight Saint Lord and the current situation of the Purple Saint ruins. When he heard about the dangers the Purple Saint ruins was facing, Duan Wuqing found it hard to hide the worry in his heart. I didn't expect Aunt Violet Knight to have a hidden secret realm in the world. Furthermore, 10,000 years after its death, it will receive a descendant of the 10,000 ancient races. Emperor Duanmu sighed. After figuring out the relationship between Zhao Feng and the Purple Knight Holy Master, Duan Wuqing's gaze became much warmer. It was as if he was looking at a junior. Zhao Feng, how did you offend the Emperor of Death? This emperor has the eyes of death, and no one under the mystic light realm dares to say that they can beat him. A solemn expression appeared on Duan Muqing's face. No monarch or martial emperor wouldn't be fearful of the Emperor of Death. Zhao Feng briefly explained his encounter with Grandmaster Yin Kong. He had killed Grandmaster Yin Kong, and the latter had activated a token of death before he died. This was why Zhao Feng was hunted by the pursuit of death. However, Zhao Feng didn't mention anything about the God Eye. The God's Eye only increased the Emperor of Death's determination to get Zhao Feng. So that's how it is. You activated the pursuit of death when you were protecting the Purple Saint ruins. Admiration and gratitude appeared on Duan Muqing's face. Ever since they met, Zhao Feng's emotions quickly calmed down. His calmness wasn't something a normal genius could do. Duan Muqing didn't see that Zhao Feng had the ninth God's Eye. After all, Duan Muqing wasn't a descendant of one of the 8 great God Eyes. Although he had seen that Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was different, he wouldn't have connected it to the God Eyes. The Emperor of Death was already so strong, and the ancestor of the God Eyes was the only one in the universe. Even emperors were extremely far away from them. An hour later, Duan Muqing asked about the cause and effect, as well as some of the details. Zhao Feng, you've just entered the sacred land. If you want to establish yourself here, you need an identity. Duan Muqing paused for a moment as love appeared in his eyes. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. It was obvious that Emperor Duan Muqing wanted to settle Zhao Feng down and give him an identity. For ordinary people, wanting to enter a holy land or even establish a foothold in a 3-star sect was an unattainable fantasy. However, it was just a question of one sentence for Duan Muqing. What identity would Duan Muqing give him? Zhao Feng started to guess in his heart. How about this? I'll take you in as a core disciple and you'll be able to establish yourself in the mystic true sacred clan. Duan Muqing smiled and said. Core disciple. Zhao Feng's eyes bulged out. He didn't expect this result. Being taken in as a core disciple by an emperor was definitely a turning point in one's life. What? You're not willing? Duan Muqing smiled. This disciple is willing. Zhao Feng immediately performed the proper bow of a disciple. Ever since he started cultivating, Zhao Feng had 2 teachers. The previous 2 teachers had played a huge role in pushing his life forward. Zhao Feng. I'm taking you in as a disciple not only because of Aunt Violet Knight, but also because I'm confident in my own judgment. As Duan Muqing smiled faintly, there was a trace of wisdom in his star-like eyes. With his cultivation at the Void God realm, how could he not see through Zhao Feng's body, bloodline, and potential? Simply put, Zhao Feng had the right to be his disciple. If it was a normal genius, Duan Muqing wouldn't take him in as a core disciple even with the Purple Knight Sacred Lord's relationship. He would at most be an in-name disciple. Zhao Feng, you can stay here for now. I'll be holding a disciple ceremony in a few days. Duan Muqing said. Disciple ceremony? Zhao Feng paused for a moment. An emperor-level expert holding a ceremony to take in a disciple was obviously very eye-catching. However, this didn't seem like Duan Muqing's style. Duan Muqing didn't give him the feeling of being arrogant. He was very calm and low-key. I'll be going to the Tianlu Islands in a few days. Before that, your identity must be made known to the public. Duan Muqing explained. When Zhao Feng heard this, he understood. Duan Muqing was being so high-profile because he wanted Zhao Feng to quickly integrate into the mystic true sacred sect. Most importantly, he wanted to protect Zhao Feng. If others knew that Zhao Feng was Duan Muqing's disciple, they would be wary of him. 3 days later, Duan Muqing held a disciple acceptance ceremony in his residence. This disciple ceremony wasn't purposely publicized. It was targeted at the upper echelons of the sect and some core disciples. However, on the day of the ceremony, many sovereign martial emperors came to participate. As for the other half-step kings and supremacies, there were countless of them. During the ceremony, Zhao Feng became Duanmu Qing's disciple. This matter shook the mystic true sacred clan and spread to the other two sacred sects and the other two sacred sects. During the disciple ceremony, Zhao Feng also met the upper echelon kings of the Golden Mountain sect. The blue-robed king was very friendly to Zhao Feng, like he was his elder. "Little friend Zhao, congratulations." White-bearded elder Li's face was filled with relief. Zhao Feng only talked to the white-bearded old Li and told him to send the news to the eternally sealed palace lord. The eternally sealed palace lord was very useful in being able to enter the sacred land. Of course. Old Li nodded solemnly. He knew Zhao Feng's true strength. Under Emperor Duanmu's guidance, Zhao Feng would definitely become stronger. During the ceremony, Zhao Feng also met some core disciples of the Mystic True Sacred Sect. In the three-star Mystic True Sacred Sect, most core disciples were disciples of emperors. In the Mystic True Sacred Sect, there were at least 7 or 8 emperors. Among them, Great Emperor Duanmu's seniority was extremely high. "It's him." 2 of the core disciples stared at Zhao Feng with their mouths open. One of them was a short-haired youth, while the other was a tall and skinny youth. "Junior Marshal Brother Jiang, what's wrong? Do you know this Zhao Feng?" One of the core disciples said with surprise. The short-haired youth and the tall and skinny youth looked at each other with shock in their eyes. So, these two were Jiang Fan and Qin Yilin, who had appeared at the Void Ocean Arena. Zhao Feng seemed to sense them and saw them. Jiang Fan and Qin Yilin left a deep impression on Zhao Feng. This was especially so for Jiang Fan, who had the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races. The strength he displayed back at the Void Ocean Arena was terrifying. At that time, Zhao Feng was only at the half-step origin core realm. He probably wouldn't even be able to take one move from Jiang Fan. At this moment in time, Jiang Fan and Qin Yilin were shocked. It's only been a year, but his cultivation has already caught up to mine, and he's even a disciple of an emperor. Jiang Fan couldn't accept this. In the past year, he had only reached the middle stage of the origin core realm after a lot of hard work. In terms of status, he was a core disciple of a 3-star sect. And all of this. It was as if Zhao Feng had only used a ceremony to reach the same level as Jiang Fan. "Senior Marshal Brothers." Zhao Feng walked over with a smile and greeted Jiang Fan and Qin Yilin. Jiang Fan and Qin Yilin had unnatural smiles on their faces as they replied to Zhao Feng. Although Zhao Feng's current status was only on the same level as the two of them. But a year ago, the two of them didn't have high hopes for Zhao Feng and thought that there wouldn't be any interaction between them in the future. Therefore, when Zhao Feng made a request, the two of them rejected it. "Hehe, Emperor Gu Luo, your disciple with the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races seems to know Zhao Feng." Emperor Duanmu smiled as he conversed with an elder in ancient robes. Emperor Gu Luo was Jiang Fan's master. This Zhao Feng's bloodline isn't much different from normal bloodlines of the 10,000 ancient races. What's more, even I can't see through his eye bloodline. Emperor Gu Luo praised. Normal people couldn't even reach the level of an emperor. Every emperor present congratulated Emperor Duanmu when they saw Zhao Feng. "Jiang Fan, the potential of this Zhao Feng's bloodline isn't any weaker than yours. You need to interact with him more in the future." Emperor Gu Luo's voice sounded in Jiang Fan's mind. Disciple understands. Jiang Fan's heart felt like it had broken, and he didn't know what to feel. From what his master said, it seemed like he wanted him to form a good relationship with Zhao Feng. Firstly, Emperor Duanmu's status and strength were slightly higher than his master's. Secondly, in his master's eyes, Zhao Feng's future potential wouldn't be any weaker than his own. Jiang Fan didn't dare doubt any of this. Secondly, he didn't know what fortune Zhao Feng had to catch up to him in just a year. Chapter 631. During the disciple ceremony, Duanmu Qing took back his gaze and started to talk with the emperors present. Elders, I still have something to discuss with all of you during the disciple acceptance ceremony. Duanmu Qing suddenly spoke. The martial monarchs exchanged glances with one another. Some of them seemed to be deep in thought. Emperor Duanmu, is this related to the demigod Forgotten Garden? Emperor Gu Luo stroked his beard and smiled. That's right. Duanmu Qing nodded his head. The spots for the demigod Forgotten Garden have been decided. In principle, the spots won't change. Hearing this, the emperors present all understood Duanmu Qing's intentions. He wanted to get a spot for his disciple in the demigod Forgotten Garden. If it was before the spots were decided, it wouldn't be hard with Duanmu Qing's strength and status. However, the problem was, the spots for the demigod Forgotten Garden had been decided. The spots for the demigod Forgotten Garden are decided internally and publicly. The publicly won spots are announced to the public, so it's hard to interfere with. The only way to change the spots is to replace them. Emperor Gu Luo said deeply. The mystic true sacred clan had a total of 50 spots for the demigod Forgotten Garden. Compared to the peak 2-star Golden Mountain sect, this was already 10 times the gap. However, being a 3-star superpower, the mystic true sacred clan had as many geniuses as there were stars in the sky. They even had bloodlines of the 10,000 ancient races. There were at least a few dozen emperors and kings here. Every monarch and great emperor would have a few disciples. Therefore, the competition for the 50 spots was extremely intense. There are 10 spots that have been decided internally. How about this? Emperor Gu Luo soon thought of an idea. The emperors discussed with their divine senses and soon came to a decision. That's the only way. Emperor Duanmu sighed lightly. The spots that had been decided internally were all geniuses with some background. If they wanted to replace one of them, they would definitely offend some people. However, the demigod Forgotten Garden that only appeared once every 500 years was extremely rare. Emperor Duanmu rarely took in disciples. Now that he finally found a genius with a peak bloodline who was related to Ant Purple Knight, he obviously had to help him. Time passed by. The disciple ceremony slowly came to an end. Zhao Feng met many core disciples of the mystic true sacred clan during the ceremony. Head disciple Nan Gongsheng didn't come. Nan Gongsheng has been cultivating the secret techniques of the sacred land. Half a year ago, he reached the half-step king level. Some of the true disciples discussed in low voices. The Nan Gongsheng everyone was talking about was the #1 genius of the mystic true sacred clan. At the same time, he was also one of the top geniuses in the sacred ground. When mentioning Nan Gongsheng, even Jiang Fan, who had a bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, revealed respect. If my cultivation can reach the Great Origin Core realm, I'll be able to fight against half-step Void God realms. Jiang Fan clenched his fists. His bloodline talent was one of the best in the mystic true sacred clan. But what could he do? He was only in his 20s and couldn't compare to some of the young geniuses in their 30s. Junior martial brother Jiang, don't be discouraged. In the entire sacred land, there were only 2 10,000 ancient races bloodlines. Your true opponent in the future should be Meng Shi of the Thousand Darkness Saint sect. Chen Yilin reached out and patted his shoulder. In fact, Jiang Fan's 10,000 ancient races bloodline had already surpassed some Great Origin Core realm sovereign lords. There's still 3 months until the demigod Forgotten Garden. I'll definitely become one of the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land like senior martial brother Chen. Battle intent appeared in Jiang Fan's eyes, and the 10,000 ancient races bloodline in his body seemed to ignite under his will. Jiang Fan had received quite a bit of stimulation from today's disciple ceremony. This was all because of the pressure from Zhao Feng. The change in Jiang Fan's body didn't escape Emperor Gu Luo's eyes. Emperor Gu Luo nodded his head. Jiang Fan had a 10,000 ancient races bloodline, so he didn't put much effort into his cultivation. I'll personally teach you cultivation for the next 3 months. Emperor Gu Luo's divine sense voice suddenly sounded. Thank you, Master. Jiang Fan's heart was filled with excitement. His goal was to become one of the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land. Only with this kind of strength would he be able to carve out a path for himself in the demigod Forgotten Garden. Emperor Gu Luo's eyes glanced at Emperor Duanmu and thought that his disciple had a legendary bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races. No matter what, he couldn't lose to Emperor Duanmu's disciple. Half a day later, the disciples' ceremony ended. From now on, Zhao Feng was officially Duanmu Qing's core disciple and a member of a 3-star superpower. Zhao Feng understood Duanmu Qing's intentions. Zhao Feng, if everything goes as expected, you'll be able to obtain a spot to enter the demigod Forgotten Garden, but at the same time, you need to be prepared to be challenged. Duanmu Qing spoke before leaving. Demigod Forgotten Garden. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised and overjoyed. Zhao Feng had talked to some core disciples during the disciple ceremony. He knew that the spots to enter the demigod Forgotten Garden had already been decided. He didn't expect Duanmu Qing to get a spot for him. Thank you, Master. Zhao Feng was grateful. Duanmu Qing definitely had to pay a price to get this spot for him. Because, there wasn't just 1 or 2 emperors in a 3-star superpower, and there were dozens of kings as well. Furthermore, there were mystic light realm sacred lords above emperors. Back at his residence, Zhao Feng sat down cross-legged and found it hard to calm down. Ever since he met Duanmu Qing, his life and status had undergone an earth-shattering change. Zhao Feng's gaze turned toward the courtyard outside. The hazy moonlight made the courtyard seem like it was covered in a layer of silver. For some reason, although he was in a 3-star superpower, his thoughts floated toward the azure flower continent. In his mind, the calm and elegant female that was like a goddess from a painting appeared once again. True martial sacred land. Demigod Forgotten Garden. I must grasp this chance. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and closed his eyes to cultivate. After arriving at the true martial sacred land, he had basically completed half of his journey. In the morning of the second day, Zhao Feng, come out. I want to see who you are to take my spot as soon as you enter the sacred clan. A voice full of resentment came from outside the courtyard. Outside the courtyard, some of the experts and geniuses of the mystic true sacred clan stood there and watched. The owner of the voice was a youth with messy hair. His eyes were wide open, and his expression was twisted. Junior Martial Brothers Wahong, your spot was taken by Zhao Feng. This is rare even in the true martial sacred land. Some of the disciples in the crowd felt sympathetic. In terms of background, Wahong's master was a void god realm king with a lot of experience and was an elder with real power. In terms of cultivation, he wasn't even 30 years old, but he had reached the late-stage small origin core realm. Amidst the chatter, a blue-haired youth walked out from the courtyard. Zhao Feng, you're finally out. Outside, the disciples of the various sects were filled with indignation. You're shameless to steal a spot just because you're a core disciple of an emperor. Most of the people sympathized with the weak side. After all, the spot originally belonged to Wahong. I don't dare to go against the decision of the upper echelon. However, I just want to see if this junior martial brother Zhao has the right to take my spot. Wahong snickered coldly. What he did today was what his master told him to do. Emperor Duanmu's strength and experience were something that not many people in the clan could be compared to. This was especially so when the Emperor projection descended that day, which raised Emperor Duanmu's fame to a whole new level. However, fighting in the open wasn't possible, but fighting in the dark and scheming was possible. If Wahong was able to defeat Zhao Feng, then it would be hard for Emperor Duanmu to obtain a spot for his disciple. Even in a 3-star sect, strength was everything. The sect would not waste a precious quota on an incompetent person. As long as he defeated Zhao Feng, At that time, Zhuang's master could ask other emperors to settle this matter. Maybe this matter could be brought to the attention of the Grand Supreme Elder who had been living in seclusion. All he needed was a plan. Zhuang, he only needed a coincidence point. Now, in front of everyone, he issued a challenge to Zhao Feng. This was the first step. Fine, I accept your challenge. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate at all. Yesterday, his master, Duan Muqing, had warned him. A person who could be respected as a great emperor must have extraordinary wisdom and foresight. A while later, several hundred people had gathered near an ancient arena in the mystic true sacred clan. They had all come to watch. There were also many core disciples present. Senior Marshal Brother Chen and Senior Marshal Brother Nan are both here. Some of the true inheritors in the crowd looked at the two figures in the crowd. Chen Yilin and the other Senior Brother Nan stared expressionlessly at the two figures on the dueling platform. Both of their cultivations had reached the late-stage Great Origin Core realm. Senior Marshal Brother Chen and Senior Marshal Brother Nan are both part of the top 10 geniuses of the Sacred Land. Apparently, they've both challenged half-step Void God realms before. Everyone's eyes were filled with respect. At this moment in time, within the arena, Zhao Feng and Zhuang floated above a mountain. The arena of the mystic true sacred clan was extremely profound. It was like a small dimension that could simulate all sorts of environments, such as mountains, rivers, and forests. This battle was also highly anticipated. There were at least a dozen Void God realm divine senses in the air, and there were even emperors. Humph. Everything has been prepared. As long as Zhuang wins, I'll ask the Grand Elder to judge this. The divine sense of one of the Void God realm kings gazed down coldly. Senior Marshal Brother Zhuang, there's no point in just fighting. Zhao Feng said calmly. What do you mean? Zhuang paused. Let's make a bet. If you win, I'll give you the spot. Zhao Feng said. Are you serious? If you lose, you'll give me the spot. Zhuang was overjoyed. He didn't expect it to be so simple. As long as you can last 10 moves against me, it'll be your win. But if you lose, do you want to say something? Zhao Feng said slowly. 10 moves. Zhuang paused, and the crowd broke out into discussion. Ha ha ha. 10 moves. Brat named Zhao, you're too arrogant. It looks like you don't know that the core disciples of 3-star sects all have the strength to challenge those stronger than them. Hearing that, Zhuang laughed instead of getting angry. Although he was only at the late-stage Small Origin Core realm, he had defeated Great Origin Core realm sovereign lords before. Chapter 632. On the Arena of the Sacred Land. The disciples and experts of the sects were dumbfounded. 10 moves. This Zhao Feng dares to be so arrogant. This brat just became a core disciple of the sacred clan, and Zhuang's cultivation is one rank higher than his. None of the several hundred spectators had high hopes for Zhao Feng. After all, Zhuang was an old core disciple, and he was better than Zhao Feng in every aspect. Furthermore, that brat was arrogant enough to make a bet of 10 moves. What, you don't dare? Zhao Feng smiled faintly. The reason he made the bet was to prove that he had the strength to replace one of the predetermined spots. This way, no one would say anything, and it wouldn't affect the reputation of his master. Why wouldn't I dare? If I lose, I'll apologize to you in person, and I'll stay away from you in the future. Zhuang laughed as victory was within his grasp. He was overjoyed, and he looked at Zhao Feng as if he was looking at an idiot. Don't underestimate your opponent. Zhao Feng's mental energy and bloodline aura aren't normal. Since he's so confident, he most likely has something to rely on. The divine sense of a king appeared in Zhuang's mind. The owner of the voice was Zhuang's master. Disciple understands. Zhuo Heng's heart skipped a beat, and he stopped underestimating Zhao Feng. His master was a void god realm king after all, and he could accurately estimate his opponent's strength. Begin. A half-step void god realm was the judge on the arena. No matter how strong Zhao Feng is, there's no way I can't even last 10 moves. Zhuo Heng's figure flickered as he used a technique from the sacred land. Soaring Cloud Swan. In the next instant, a giant azure and silver figure condensed in the sky like a giant peng. Whoosh! Whoosh! Zhuo Heng's figure merged into the silver and azure peng figure, and sharp wings that were almost 100 yards long crushed toward Zhao Feng. What a profound technique! Zhao Feng was under a huge shadow. His heart was cold and his skin was aching. Without using his eye bloodline, it was difficult for him to locate Zhuo Heng's true body. Purple Lightning Wind Ring. Zhao Feng let out a soft shout, and under the cover of the sharp shadow wings, he activated the Purple Destruction Tempest. Bo! Bo bo! Zhao Feng was surrounded by a dazzling stream of purple lightning. Frighteningly dazzling purple rings of destruction emitted an aura of destruction that soared into the sky in waves. With the naked eye, rings of purple lightning grew larger and larger as they flew towards the silvery and azure peng silhouettes in the sky. Boom! Crackle! Two sharp and domineering forces collided, and a destructive aura wreaked havoc. Ka-cha! Soon, a crack appeared on the silver and azure rock shadow in the sky under the impact of the waves. As soon as they clashed, the victor was decided. Purple Destruction Tempest. It's actually the inheritance of the Wind Thunder Great Emperor. The divine senses of some kings in the air were slightly surprised. The experts of the true martial sacred land were all knowledgeable, and they soon recognized Zhao Feng's inheritance. Wind Thunder Great Emperor. In the past, he was a legendary existence even among Void God Realm Emperors. The 10,000 Lightning sect also has the inheritance of the Wind Thunder Great Emperor, but it's not the best inheritance. The divine senses of the king started to discuss. Wind Thunder Great Emperor. A martial monarch's divine sense passed by with a sigh. Some of the ancient emperors of the true martial sacred land might have interacted with the Wind Thunder Great Emperor before. Back then, the Wind Thunder Great Emperor had once cultivated in the 10,000 Lightning Great Emperor. At this moment, the Wind Thunder Great Emperor's Purple Destruction Tempest suppressed the ancient inheritance technique of another sacred land. A brat from the outside world actually has the inheritance of a legendary emperor. Zhuo Heng gritted his teeth in the air. Flying Peng Flash. Zhuo Heng suddenly circulated his bloodline power, and the outline of the giant peng in the sky became even more solid. Lightning flashed, and dark clouds blew. Shwa! In the next instant, the giant peng flashed across heaven and earth. It was as if a legendary bird could be seen with the naked eye, and it released an ancient pressure as it screeched through heaven and earth. Zhao Feng felt a strong pressure, and his blood froze. He didn't expect Zhuo Heng's bloodline technique to be so strong. Its battle power was comparable to a great origin core realm sovereign lord. Wind Lightning 100 Shadows. Zhao Feng roared as a ball of purple lightning appeared around his body. Shwa! 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 In the blink of an eye, the ball of purple lightning split into two and transformed into two purple lightning wind silhouettes. The two figures of purple lightning then quickly split into 2, 4, 8, 16. In the blink of an eye, dozens of purple lightning wind shadows were spread out in an area with a radius of 1 kilometer. Shu, the shocking attack of the rock's passing shadow shook the heavens and the earth, shattering the lightning clones. However, Zhao Feng's true body was nowhere to be seen. It was hard to tell which one was real and which one was fake. All of the figures could attack for a short period of time. Shwa! 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 The figures of purple lightning charged towards Zhuohong's flying ping flash one after another. Zhuohong was enraged, and his body was covered in lightning. Outside the arena, most of the geniuses of the sacred land were stunned. Blade of purple destruction. A dark purple blade of light that was as thin as a cicada's wing suddenly condensed in the hand of one of the figures of purple lightning. An ancient aura of destruction appeared on the surface of the blade. Crack. The blade of violet destruction was dazzling to the extreme, and it expanded explosively to over 30 meters. Wind and thunder rumbled as an aura of destruction poured down, and it slashed the rock's flitting shadow into two. Arg! Zhuohong, who had merged into the flying ping flash, harumphed. Shwa! A dark red mark could be seen on his body as the power of destruction entered his body. Even with his powerful bloodline, the wound and the injuries in his body wouldn't be able to heal in a short amount of time. This was the unique property of the intent of destruction, and it had a strong resistance against healing. Not good. Zhao Feng's offense, speed, and inheritance are all stronger than Hong Er's. The divine sense of a king couldn't help but exclaim. Zhao Feng's blade of purple destruction destroyed Zhuohong's bloodline technique and injured the latter. However, Zhao Feng's attack wasn't over yet. Wings of wind and lightning. The purple destruction wings of wind and lightning extended from Zhao Feng's back, and his intent of wind and lightning made him seem like an ancient demon surrounded by wind and lightning. Boom! A terrifying and suffocating purple destruction wind lightning shook the entire dueling stage. Lightning and astral winds filled the sky and interweaved like a storm, emitting an ancient aura of destruction. Break! As Zhao Feng attacked, his speed, offense, and intent of wind and lightning rose to a whole new level. He thrust out his palm, and it was as if he could see a purple destruction wind lightning dragon roaring in the wind. So strong. The spectators outside the arena felt their hearts and bloodlines tremble as they gazed at the blue-haired figure that was like a devil of wind and lightning. No. Zhuohong circulated his bloodline power to the maximum, and the wings around him started to crumble. He was sent flying off the arena by the unstoppable purple destruction wind lightning dragon. Plop! When Zhuohong landed on the ground, his entire body was scorched black. He wanted to move, but his body was numb, and most of his life force had been destroyed. He couldn't move at all. Senior Martial Brother Zhuo. A few true disciples helped Zhuohong up in shock. Thank you. Zhao Feng walked off the arena under the wary gazes of the spectators. He did indeed win within 10 moves. The half-step Void God Realm judge looked at Zhao Feng weirdly. At the last moment, with the support of the wings of wind and lightning, Zhao Feng's battle power could easily break through the barrier of cultivation and threaten sovereign lords at or above the middle stages of the Great Origin Core realm. Such battle power made most geniuses from the sacred land pale in comparison. This strength is passable. The expressionless senior brother Nan said from the crowd. For someone who was one of the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land, such strength wasn't surprising. One had to know, many of the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land could challenge normal half-step void god realms. On the other hand, Chen Yilin was surprised. He was also one of the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land. However, Chen Yilin had seen Zhao Feng a year ago. At that time, Zhao Feng was only at the half-step origin core realm, and he might not even be able to block one attack from Jiang Fan. Luckily, Jiang Fan isn't here. The strength that Zhao Feng just displayed is already on par with junior martial brother Jiang. Chen Yilin murmured. Jiang Fan had gone to cultivate with his master, Emperor Gu Luo, after Duanmu Qing's disciple ceremony. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng, you did well. Come to master's place. Emperor Duanmu's voice sounded. It was obvious that Emperor Duanmu was paying attention to this battle as well. The other kings couldn't help but sigh. Emperor Duanmu's disciple had such shocking strength right after entering the sacred land. A while later, Master, what can I do for you? Zhao Feng arrived at Duanmu Qing's palace. Zhao Feng, your strength can be ranked in the top 5 or 6 of the Mystic True Sacred Clan's core disciples. However, there's still a gap between you and the top 10 geniuses of the Sacred Land. It's still not enough if you want to gain much from the demigod Forgotten Garden. Duanmu Qing said. Zhao Feng didn't object. He had used 60 to 70% of his purple destruction wind lightning's full power in the battle just now. If a core disciple at the small origin core realm already had such strength, then the great origin core realm geniuses and the top 10 geniuses of the Sacred Land would be even more immeasurable. I'll give you these 3 things before I leave. They might be of use to you. A wooden box appeared in Duanmu Qing's hand. Zhao Feng took the wooden box and opened it. There were 2 books and a jade bottle inside. Within the jade bottle was a thumb-sized crystal pill. It was oval-shaped and gave off a pure aura that made Zhao Feng feel pressured. This is a crystal pill that can help those at the peak of the small origin core realm break through to the great origin core realm. Your cultivation isn't enough to use this pill, but I've found that your core has started to crystallize. However, I have discovered that the core within your body has already begun to crystallize. If you use this pill in advance, perhaps it will have a good effect. Duanmu Qing said with a smile. Crystal pill. Zhao Feng couldn't help but feel excited. He had heard of the value of this pill. It was priceless even in the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace. Next his gaze was fixed on the 2 ancient books. One of the books had 4 words written on it, Dark Eye Secret Book. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised. What did this have to do with the Dark Eye incomplete page that he had obtained back then? I got this Dark Eye secret technique from the Emperor of Death. It's related to his core Dark Eye technique. Chapter 633. I got this Dark Eye secret technique from the Emperor of Death, and it's related to his core Dark Eye forbidden technique. Hearing this, Zhao Feng couldn't help but feel disbelief. Duanmu Qing actually had the Emperor of Death's secret technique? That sounded incredible. Of course. Emperors had their own circles, so it wasn't strange for them to trade with each other. The Emperor of Death and Duanmu Qing were both ancient emperors, and their cultivation was close. This was a trade a long time ago, and I paid a huge price for it. However, this Dark Eye secret technique isn't very useful to me. I only traded it back then because I was interested in the Dark Eye of Death. Duanmu Qing sighed. The lifespan of emperors was extremely long, and they could live for tens of thousands of years. With such a long lifespan, these emperors would comprehend all sorts of forbidden techniques in order to gain inspiration. Master, what's the relationship between this Dark Eye secret technique and the Dark Eye of Death? Zhao Feng thought about the Dark Eye incomplete page that he had obtained. Because the Dark Eye incomplete page was incomplete, it only provided some eye bloodline theories for Zhao Feng. Legend, the Dark Eye incomplete page had a total of 9 incomplete pages, and when all 9 were combined, one could cultivate the ultimate Dark Eye of Death. Perhaps only the Emperor of Death was able to cultivate the true Dark Eye of Death in the Tsang Ocean. On the other hand, the Dark Eye secret technique is an incomplete version of the Dark Eye of Death, and it doesn't have much to do with offensive techniques. However, it has a more complete description of eye bloodline techniques related to the soul and death. Duanmu Qing answered. Hearing that, Zhao Feng let out a breath. Thinking about it, it was impossible for the Emperor of Death to give away the true Dark Eye of Death. However, the Dark Eye secret technique contains many of the Emperor of Death's forbidden techniques, and it's not limited to the Dark Eye of Death. Duanmu Qing looked at Zhao Feng with a solemn expression. Zhao Feng felt grateful in his heart. He understood Duanmu Qing's intentions. Now that Zhao Feng was facing the pursuit of death, they would meet sooner or later. Duanmu Qing gave the Dark Eye secret technique to Zhao Feng because he wanted him to understand the Emperor of Death's Dark Eye secret technique. He wanted Zhao Feng to comprehend it and find a way to deal with the Emperor of Death. Zhao Feng quietly put away the Dark Eye Manual. Next, his gaze landed on the last ancient book. If this item was placed at the bottom of the wooden box, its value might not be any lower than the Dark Eye's secret technique. 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique. Zhao Feng picked up the last ancient manual. A nostalgic look appeared on Duan Muqing's face as he looked at the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique. This is the secret manual of my Duanmu clan. It's a supreme secret manual for cultivating the soul. This divine art might have reached the heaven grade, but it's slightly incomplete. Duan Muqing's voice was hoarse. Zhao Feng felt something weird. The Duanmu clan and the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique seemed to have touched the depths of Duan Muqing's heart. My God Spiritual Eye specializes in the Tao of the soul. Zhao Feng was very confident. He instinctively flipped open the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique and sent his divine sense into it. When a mysterious surge of mental energy suddenly led Zhao Feng into a vast mental energy world. The contents of the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique were all recorded in this mental energy world. This technique can help one break through to the void God realm, and it can help one's soul change. When cultivated to the late stages, one can create 10,000 thoughts with one thought. It's a supreme technique for cultivating the soul. Duan Muqing's voice sounded in Zhao Feng's ears. Zhao Feng's consciousness merged into the vast mental energy world, and in a rush, he came into contact with the knowledge of using the soul divine sense. Hearing Duan Muqing's introduction, Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised. Firstly, the complete 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique had reached the heaven grade. Techniques were split into 4 levels: mortal, spiritual, earth, and heaven. Among them, even in the Azure Flower continent, spiritual grade cultivation techniques were extremely rare. Heaven grade techniques were the highest level of techniques in the world. Secondly, this technique could help one break through to the void God realm and help one's soul change. Simply put, cultivating this technique could increase one's chances of breaking through to the void God realm. Other emperors wanted to trade this technique, but I didn't agree. It was shameful to say it, but at the level of a master, he was far from being able to cultivate it to the highest realm of 10,000 transformations with a single thought. Perhaps I'm not very talented in the soul. Duan Muqing had a complicated expression. He had a special feeling for the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique. Master, why did you give the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique to me? Zhao Feng asked carefully. Duan Muqing didn't hide anything and told Zhao Feng the reason. 2 reasons. Firstly, your eye bloodline seems to lean towards the Tao of the soul, and even I can't see through it. Maybe you'll be able to cultivate the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique to a level that surpasses mine. Secondly, the Eye of Death's eye intent is in your soul and has seeped into the depths of your soul. I don't specialize in the Tao of the soul, and the intent of an emperor is too strong. If I rush it into the depths of your soul, there might be unpredictable consequences. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised by the first reason. Even the first elder of the Broken Moon clan could see through his talent in the mental energy. Emperor Duanmu probably saw through it even more. However, the second reason surprised Zhao Feng. Master, you mean that cultivating the 10,000 Divine Thoughts Technique can help me resolve the hidden danger left behind by the Emperor of Death? That's right. Duan Muqing said in a solemn tone, I can help you now, but I can't help you forever. You'll have to deal with the Emperor of Death yourself. Up until now, Zhao Feng admired Duan Muqing's wisdom even more. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Duan Muqing gave the Dark Eye secret technique and the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique to Zhao Feng because he wanted Zhao Feng to use his own power to grow and deal with the pursuit of death. Zhao Feng put the wooden box away and bowed deeply toward Duan Muqing before leaving. In just a few days after entering the sacred land, Duan Muqing had high hopes and feelings for Zhao Feng. It wasn't like a pair of master and disciple who had just met for a short time. All of this. Zhao Feng remembered the gratitude in his heart. Back at his residence, Zhao Feng immediately took out the 10,000 divine thoughts technique and started to comprehend it. His consciousness quickly entered the vast spiritual world and devoured all the theories and knowledge of the soul path as if he was thirsty for it. An hour later, Zhao Feng had a comprehensive understanding of the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. The 10,000 divine thoughts technique didn't just simply cultivate the divine sense of the soul. It contained many soul Tao techniques and focused on the usage of soul power. The Tao of the soul. The Tao of the soul had always been a forbidden area for cultivation. Only when one reached the void God realm would their soul transform and allow them to truly use the power of the soul. However, this was only the entrance to the Tao of the soul. The soul was too mysterious and dangerous. It was like a forbidden area, and its origin was hard to trace. One of the special features of the 10,000 divine thoughts technique is that it can split one's mind into many parts. One thought can be split into 2, 10, 100, and 1,000. This technique allows the user to use soul power to an unimaginable level. Zhao Feng sighed in amazement at the first glance. Normal people wouldn't be able to multitask. However, the 10,000 divine thoughts technique was even more unique. The split thoughts had a certain degree of independence and could do their own things without affecting each other much. Of course, the effects of the split thoughts would be greatly reduced. For example, if he could reach the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, he would be able to split his thoughts into 2. This meant that Zhao Feng could split his consciousness into 2. One would cultivate the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, and the other would cultivate the Wind Lightning Emperor's inheritance. This kind of division of thoughts was beyond the ordinary multitasking. Of course, this was the ideal state of the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. In reality, it was difficult to make 2 separate thoughts. Let's try. Zhao Feng was slightly excited in his heart. He started to cultivate according to the core technique of the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. For now, Zhao Feng didn't have a divine sense. He only had his soul sense. He had to be at least at the half-step king realm to have a divine sense. However, soul sense and divine sense were the same senses, and they worked the same way. While cultivating, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye was the core of his soul power, and it unknowingly joined in. Half a day later, It doesn't seem hard. Zhao Feng's soul sense easily split into 2. Thinking back, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye could easily control an army of beasts and he could command them as if they were a god. However, normal beast tamers controlled an army of beasts by controlling the beast king and using mental energy techniques to give orders to the entire army. Some special eye bloodlines of the mental energy element were born with this ability. Zhao Feng was an exception. His God's spiritual eye could easily control an army of beasts a long time ago. 1 thought into 10. On the second day, Zhao Feng's soul sense easily split into 10. Shua! Shua! As he circulated the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, Zhao Feng's soul sense shot through the air. In the next instant, in the sky above the main spiritual peak, 3 flying beasts were locked down by a soul sense. The 3 beasts were all comparable to the true spirit realm, but they were locked down by 3 soul senses for a breath or 2. Then, with a thought from Zhao Feng, a few wooden barrels floated into the air. This is the power of mental energy. Zhao Feng felt good. His God's spiritual eye was a mental energy treasure. And now, he had found the key to it, the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. In just a short 2 days, Zhao Feng's soul sense could split into 10. Theoretically, each of these 10 strands of will could control and influence a group of demonic beasts. Each soul sense could launch a mental energy attack or use spiritual sense to communicate. As expected of a heaven-grade soul Tao technique. It's heaven-defying. Zhao Feng praised. He didn't know how terrifying his cultivation speed was. Back when Duanmu Qing was at the Origin Core realm, he had used an entire 10 years to split one thought into 10. On the other hand, Zhao Feng didn't feel anything and acted as if it was natural. His God's spiritual eye was heaven-defying in terms of the soul. It was like a fish that was born in the water and had the ability to survive in it. On this day, Zhao Feng was just about to study the Dark Eye secret technique. Zhao Feng, I'm about to leave the sacred land and head to the Tianlu Islands. Don't leave the sacred land in this period of time. If you have any requests, you can make them. Chapter 634. Zhao Feng knew that Duanmu Qing wanted to go to the Purple Saint Ruins, which was great news for Zhao Yufei. He thought about it. Now that he was in the sacred land, he didn't need to worry about anything. All he needed to do was cultivate. The only thing he needed to do was to settle the people on the Blue Lightning Sea Sky ship. When will Master return? Zhao Feng asked. At least 1 or 2 months, and at most half a year. The pressure from the Purple Saint Ruins isn't hard to deal with, but the restoration of the ruins and the inheritance of the space will take some time. Duanmu Qing answered. Before he left, Duanmu Qing sent a piece of information into Zhao Feng's mind. The information was about the demigod Forgotten Garden. Although the demigod Forgotten Garden only opened once every 500 years, the history of the true martial sacred land was extremely long. The 2 3-star sects and 3 2-star sects had a rough understanding of the demigod Forgotten Garden after many explorations. The demigod Forgotten Garden is located in the 10,000 ancient sacred peak and the age limit is 50. There are many restrictions in the demigod Forgotten Garden and the structure of the space is different from the outside world. Zhao Feng looked through the information. The demigod Forgotten Garden would only open in 2 to 3 months. Right now, Zhao Feng's focus was on cultivation, so he didn't look into the information right now. I'll settle the people on the Blue Lightning Sea Sky ship first. Zhao Feng got up and walked out of the courtyard. Being a core disciple of a 3-star power, Zhao Feng could easily walk around the sacred land with his current identity. However, he was still very cautious, because the danger of death that originated from his soul was very close. There should be 4 Death Spirit Lords and 36 Death Guards under the Emperor of Death stationed in the true martial sacred land. He walked out of the courtyard. Zhao Feng took out his core disciple token and told a messenger to send a letter to the Golden Mountain sect. Less than an hour later, the white-bearded old Li of the Golden Mountain sect received a letter. Opening the envelope, a strand of wool burst out from it, and Zhao Feng's voice sounded, "Elderly, there's something I need your help with." The white-bearded elderly was taken aback. Only those below the Void God realm could imprint their mental energy onto the letter. Moreover, the voice came from Zhao Feng on the other end. After cultivating the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, Zhao Feng's mind power could be divided into many parts. He imprinted a wisp of psychic awareness on the envelope. Even if it was sent far away, it would still be connected to his soul. However, this was only the basic application of the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. Through this letter, Zhao Feng could get in touch with the white-bearded old Li within a short period of time, and there was no need for other communication tools. Fellow Taoist Zhao, don't worry. I'll report this matter to the higher-ups of the sect, and it won't be a problem to arrange for some outer members to stay in the sect. White-bearded old Li said. On the same day, the higher-ups of the Golden Mountain sect, the blue-robed king, Kuan Yin Yun, took in the Blue Lightning Sea Sky ship and the others. The next day, on the Blue Lightning Sea Sky ship, Li Yunya, Lulan Jishui, and company became outer members of the Golden Mountain sect. Zhao Feng was finally able to relax. The true martial sacred land wouldn't be his final destination. In the future, he would need a ship when he headed to the floating dream spiritual zone. After the Blue Lightning Sea Sky ship was settled, Zhao Feng started to cultivate in seclusion. Now, there were only 3 directions to his cultivation. First, the Wind Lightning Emperor's inheritance. Now that he had comprehended the purple wind lightning, Zhao Feng could start to cultivate the scarlet wind lightning. Second, the Tao of Soul, the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique. It could be said that the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique had surpassed the Wind Lightning Emperor's inheritance. Cultivating this technique would help Zhao Feng dissolve the eye of death intent in the depths of his soul. Thirdly, he would cultivate the dark eyes of death in terms of eye bloodline techniques. 3 directions. Zhao Feng placed the most importance on the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique. The 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique allowed Zhao Feng's soul to become stronger, and his usage of soul power reached a whole new level. However, as Zhao Feng could turn one thought into 10, the progress of the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique slowed down. In theory, one had to be at least at the Void God realm in order to reach a higher level. It was already a miracle that Zhao Feng could turn one thought into 10 so quickly. He had surpassed some of the experts of the Duanmu family. The next day, Zhao Feng started to read the Dark Eye Secret technique. With one look, Zhao Feng was completely entranced, and his consciousness was completely submerged. The Dark Eye Secret technique contained the theories of many Death Eye bloodline techniques that the Emperor of Death had created. Although this secret technique didn't have much information on the core of the ultimate Dark Eye of Death, there were many supplementary and powerful controlling eye bloodline techniques recorded in it. These eye bloodline techniques all lean towards the soul and death element. The Emperor of Death is quite cunning. The true offensive forbidden eye bloodline techniques don't have any core knowledge. Zhao Feng first read through it. It took him an entire day and night before he could finish reading through the entire book. One had to know that Zhao Feng's mental energy consciousness was extremely strong, and he had a photographic memory as well as a powerful ability to comprehend and learn. The Dark Eye Secret technique gave Zhao Feng a better understanding of eye bloodline techniques of death and the soul. What was even more amazing was that the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique was a peerless technique for cultivating the divine sense of the soul Tao, and it could be used together with the Dark Eye Secret technique. The two techniques had something in common, which was the usage of soul power. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had comprehended the Dark Eye incomplete page before, so he had a certain foundation. With this as a foundation, Zhao Feng's understanding of the Dark Eye Secret technique was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Zhao Feng's consciousness was completely immersed in the Dark Eye Secret technique as he learned many forbidden eye bloodline techniques. Because many of the eye bloodline techniques in the Dark Eye Secret technique were related to the Tao of Death, Zhao Feng couldn't directly learn most of them. On the other hand, Zhao Feng was able to learn some simple eye bloodline techniques as soon as he learned them. Over the past half a month, Zhao Feng had also developed some new eye bloodline techniques, most of which were related to the soul. However, due to the Emperor of Death's restrictions on the Dark Eye Secret technique, most of these eye bloodline techniques were limited to support and control techniques. Soul chains. A surge of mental energy surged from Zhao Feng's left eye. In the next instant, within the 10,000 Ghost Pearl, the skeletal division leader howled as its body froze. Wisps of transparent purple lightning wrapped around the skeletal division leader's body. In reality, the thing that was bound was the skeletal division leader's soul. The transparent purple lightning was in the form of a soul, and it bound the target's soul. I've only used 50% of my power, and you can't fight back at all. Zhao Feng was slightly dissatisfied and took back his eye bloodline power. The purple lightning bound the skeletal division leader for several breaths before it broke free. Apart from the soul chains, Zhao Feng had also comprehended more than a dozen eye bloodline techniques, most of which were related to the soul. Dark Heart Seal. Mental Energy Spike. Eye of Nightmare. Soul-Searching Technique. Demonic Eye Invasion. The principles of eye bloodline techniques appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Although some eye bloodline techniques were related to the Tao of Death, Zhao Feng could still use them with other elements. After all, his eye bloodline power could be switched, which was an advantage that other eye bloodlines didn't have. Among them, the one that Zhao Feng comprehended the most was the Dark Heart Seal, which was based on his previous Dark Heart Seed. In the past, the Dark Heart Seed would merge the seed of eye bloodline power into the target's soul and threaten their life, thus enslaving them. However, the Dark Heart Seed's control was limited and couldn't directly control the target's thoughts. If the target didn't care about their life, then the Dark Heart Seed would be useless. Or, even if the target's life was threatened, he would still be disloyal and might counterattack at any time. The risk was higher. The Dark Heart Seal uses a powerful Soul Dao technique to imprint one's eye bloodline power into the depths of the target's soul and change the target's thoughts. Those imprinted by the Dark Heart Seal will submit from the bottom of their soul. It's very difficult to resist. Zhao Feng knew how terrifying this technique was. The Dark Heart Seal could be said to be a slave imprint. Once struck, the target's thoughts would be twisted, and they would become a true slave, submitting to their master. For example, the Skeletal Division leader's life was threatened by the Dark Heart Seed, and under Zhao Feng's control, it often had thoughts of betrayal. However, if the forbidden Dark Heart Seal was planted in it, the Skeletal Division leader's mind would become Zhao Feng's slave, and it wouldn't have any thoughts of betraying him. The Dark Heart Seal was a forbidden technique used to enslave beings. Of course, there were limits to this technique. Firstly, the success rate of using the Dark Heart Seal wasn't high, and it was related to the difference in soul. Under many situations, if the target's will was too strong, it would fail and cause the target's soul or thoughts to crumble. Of course, the success rate was also related to one's control. Zhao Feng's God Spiritual Eye had comprehended the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, and he could split his thoughts into many. Furthermore, Zhao Feng thought of a situation where he could split his thoughts into many and enslave many weaker beings at once. Apart from the low success rate, the Dark Heart Seed also expended a lot of eye bloodline power. The amount of energy expended was related to the difference in soul and control. Dark Heart Seal. Zhao Feng's body radiated a cold undulation of eye bloodline power that made one's soul tremble. Shua. In the next instant, a bird at the true spirit realm several miles away froze. A breath or two later. So. The bird at the true spirit realm flapped its wings and landed on Zhao Feng's shoulder with respect. And, in terms of consciousness, it's completely enslaved. Even if I'm only at the ascended realm, it'll still submit to me. Zhao Feng nodded his head. This was the 10th time he had tried to use the Dark Heart Seal. Apart from the first time, which was a technical mistake, the other 9 times had all succeeded. Zhao Feng's control of the God Spiritual Eye was too strong. Furthermore, he had cultivated the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, and his control of soul power had reached a new level. Next, Zhao Feng tried to split his thoughts into 10 and control the nearby beasts and insects at the same time. The cultivation of the targets weren't high, but most of the normal beings in the sacred land were at the ascended realm or above. A few breaths passed. 7 or 8 of the 10 targets were at the ascended realm and were successfully enslaved by Zhao Feng. The other 2 failures were due to him multitasking. If Zhao Feng could cultivate the Dark Heart Seal and the 10,000 divine thoughts technique to a higher level, he would be able to increase his success rate. Within the 10,000 Ghost Pearl, the Skeletal Division leader couldn't help but feel fear, and it saw Zhao Feng's new eye bloodline technique. Those that were controlled by the Dark Heart Seal were truly enslaved and became like puppets. Chapter 635. Zhao Feng didn't use the Dark Heart Seal on the Skeletal Division leader. There were pros and cons to the Dark Heart Seal, which enslaved the target. The advantage was that the target's mind and soul would completely submit to him, and there would be no worries. The bad thing was that the enslaved target would be like a puppet, and their thoughts would be restricted, which would affect their growth. It was like how a civilization's thoughts would be frozen, and their comprehension would be limited. So, Zhao Feng didn't use the Dark Heart seal on the skeletal division leader. A cunning skeletal division leader was obviously more useful than a puppet that only knew how to listen to orders. Furthermore, the skeletal division leader couldn't pose a threat to Zhao Feng right now. The Dark Heart seed in its soul could decide its life and death with just a thought. After comprehending more than a dozen new eye bloodline techniques, Zhao Feng didn't end his seclusion. There's still 2 months left. I need to consolidate my strength. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. He put the dark eye of death aside for now. Next, he focused on the 10,000 divine thoughts technique and tried to comprehend the scarlet wind lightning. At the same time, he would enter the ancient dream realm every couple of days. Within the ancient dream realm, every time Zhao Feng entered, he could stay for a long period of time. He had obtained an ocean amount of ancient dream realm aura, and it was constantly being absorbed by his bloodline and eye bloodline. Especially, the ancient dream realm aura combined with the 10,000 divine thoughts technique could strengthen one's soul. On the other hand, Zhao Feng's soul became stronger and more condensed. Another half a month passed. Zhao Feng's 10,000 divine thoughts technique could split his thoughts into 20 parts, and the effect of strengthening his soul and spiritual sense increased day by day. Unknowingly, Zhao Feng's soul had reached the peak Great Origin Core realm, just below half-step Void God realms. His improvement could be described as traveling 1,000 miles in a day. The God Spiritual Eye was Zhao Feng's soul dimension treasure. The 10,000 divine thoughts technique was a key, and the ancient dream realm aura was an accelerator. At this rate, my soul will be strengthened to the level of a half-step king in 2 months. Zhao Feng was looking forward to it. The 10,000 divine thoughts technique was indeed worthy of being a heaven-grade technique. It could help increase one's chances of breaking through to the Void God realm. Some great emperors wanted to trade for this art, but Duan Luqing did not agree. Right now, Zhao Feng's soul was condensed, second only to half-step kings. However, in terms of soul power utilization and control, it far surpassed half-step kings. In this way, the will of a half-step king would not pose much of a threat to Zhao Feng. On this day, Zhao Feng entered the ancient dream realm again. On this ancient and desolate land, Zhao Feng's steps were laborious as he walked slowly. Now, he had entered the ancient dream realm not only to obtain the ancient dream realm's aura, but also to explore this space. Last time, I took 4 or 5 steps. This time, I'll enter at the same spot. Zhao Feng paid attention to every single detail. Every time Zhao Feng entered the ancient dream realm, he would appear at the same spot. In front of him was a patch of grass. I still have to walk a few thousand more steps to reach the grass. Zhao Feng took 7 or 8 steps and stood there for a while, absorbing the ancient dream realm aura. Before leaving, Zhao Feng looked into the distance. The meadow in the distance was his first target. Next was the river in the distance. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng's God Spiritual Eye saw an ancient bird in the sky. It was around 4 to 5 feet long, and it spread its wings. What a terrifying aura! Zhao Feng's body and soul felt the powerful aura of an ancient Yao spirit. The Yao spirit aura from the Yao bird was thousands of times stronger than the Yao birds of the future. The Yao bird seemed to sense Zhao Feng's existence, and its scarlet-red eyes flashed. Boom! Zhao Feng's body shook, and he felt as if he was facing the pressure of a Void God realm king. Retreat! Zhao Feng felt a great danger and returned from the ancient dream realm. Within the room, Zhao Feng's back was drenched in cold sweat. The aura of a Yao bird in the ancient dream realm was already so terrifying. He could only barely walk in that place, and he had no way of fighting back against such a being. This exploration gave Zhao Feng a warning. There were opportunities and dangers in the ancient dream realm. It could be predicted that there would definitely be an extremely powerful race in that ancient land. Close to 2 months later, Zhao Feng stopped comprehending and focused on cultivating. The core within his body showed signs of crystallization. At this moment, Zhao Feng finally took out the third item from the wooden box, crystal pill. Before leaving, Duan Wuqing had given Zhao Feng 3 items. Amongst them, the 10,000 divine thoughts technique and the dark eye secret technique gave Zhao Feng a lot of benefits. This is a crystal pill that can help peak small origin core realms break through to the great origin core realm. Originally, your cultivation wasn't enough to use this pill. However, I found that the core within your body has started to crystallize, so it might have a good effect on you. Duan Wuqing's words appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Normally speaking, only peak small origin core realms breaking through to the great origin core realm could use the crystal pill. Otherwise, normal middle stage and late stage small origin core realms probably wouldn't be able to absorb the full power of the pill. However, being a void god realm emperor, Duan Wuqing's eyes were extremely sharp. Not only could he see that Zhao Feng's state of existence had reached the limits of the great origin core realm, he could also see that the core within his body had started to crystallize. Therefore, Zhao Feng could use this pill. I wonder how effective the crystal pill is. Zhao Feng swallowed the crystal-like pill in his mouth. The crystal pill didn't show any signs of melting after entering his body, unlike other spiritual pills. Zhao Feng circulated his true yuan into the crystal pill and started to absorb the pure power within. The power of the crystal pill was pure and comparable to the crystal core of a great origin core realm. The power of the crystal pill turned into waves that circulated through Zhao Feng's meridians and entered his core. If it were a normal origin core realm, their meridians and core wouldn't be able to handle this power. However, Zhao Feng was extremely relaxed. His state of existence had reached the limits of the great origin core realm, and it was even close to the void god realm. Even half-step void god realms didn't have the same state of existence as Zhao Feng. On the other hand, a portion of his core had already crystallized. As long as he wasn't in a rush, he could handle the power of the crystal pill. Time passed by. The core within Zhao Feng's body became stronger and stronger, and the crystallization became more and more obvious. Another 2 months passed by quickly. Zhao Feng completely absorbed the power of the crystal pill. During this period of time, Zhao Feng didn't even enter the ancient dream realm because he was wary of the ferocious bird. Luckily, with the help of the crystal pill, the core within Zhao Feng's body had crystallized. The size of the core had also reached the late-stage small origin core realm. The strength of the core within my body is comparable to the great origin core realm in terms of quality. The only difference is the size. Zhao Feng comprehended quietly. His current cultivation was at least at the late-stage small origin core realm. The great origin core realm was no longer a barrier for him. This was because his core had crystallized and become a crystal core. As long as he accumulated enough crystal cores, he would be able to break through to the great origin core realm. The demigod Forgotten Garden will open in a few days. Zhao Feng let out a long breath. The last few days. He planned to enter the ancient dream realm once more and condense the aura of his core. After all, he had used external help to break through to the late-stage small origin core realm. This time, Zhao Feng was extremely careful when he entered the ancient dream realm. Shua! Zhao Feng stood on the desolate ground. The Yao bird he met last time didn't appear. Zhao Feng absorbed a large amount of aura from the ancient dream realm and merged it into the crystal core within his body to consolidate his cultivation. At the same time as the opening of the demigod Forgotten Garden approached, the geniuses of the true martial sacred land were all rubbing their fists and getting ready. Mystic True Sacred Clan within Emperor Gu Luo's palace, late-stage small origin core realm, success. Jiang Fan's face was slightly red, and he was full of fighting spirit. Not bad. I used the power of the Nihility God realm to protect you and let you successfully absorb the power of the crystal level pill. Emperor Gu Luo praised. Over the past several months, Jiang Fan's strength had increased by leaps and bounds under his supervision. My 10,000 ancient races bloodline and cultivation have both increased. My strength should be able to challenge the top 10 geniuses of the sacred land. Jiang Fan's confidence rose. The bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races had limitless potential to break through to the next realm. For example, he was at the late-stage small origin core realm, and his strength could challenge late-stage great origin core realms. Humph, that Zhao Feng. Jiang Fan was very happy. He had broken through so quickly that Zhao Feng definitely couldn't catch up. Main spiritual peak, Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan in a deathly silent underground secret hall. According to the agreement, my master, the Scarlet Demonic Emperor, successfully obtained a spot for you, and he paid a heavy price for it. The figure of a black-scaled male could be faintly seen within the faint black ball of light. If Zhao Feng was present, he would recognize this king of the demonic Tao as Tu Wanli, who had killed his way into the Golden Mountain clan. A warm youth stood in front of Tu Wanli. Thank you, Scarlet Demonic Emperor. My master, the Emperor of Death, will soon come out of seclusion, and I will reward you greatly. The warm youth had a warm expression. Hearing that, Tu Wanli's heart shook. The Emperor of Death was a legendary emperor, and his name shook the 3 spiritual zones of the Tsang Ocean. Apart from mystic light realm's sacred lords, no one in this world would dare to say that they could suppress the Emperor of Death. We're only responsible for obtaining a spot for you. As for killing that Zhao Feng, that has nothing to do with us. Hee, aren't you afraid of Emperor Duanmu taking revenge? Tu Wanli laughed weirdly. Although the Emperor of Death was strong, Emperor Duanmu wasn't easy to deal with, especially since this was the territory of the true martial sacred land. As long as we can enter the demigod Forgotten Garden, no one will be able to save Zhao Feng. Coincidentally, Emperor Duanmu is out right now. This is a great opportunity. The warm youth's smile was still warm, but it contained a coldness that could pierce one's soul. Je. Don't be too arrogant. Many of the geniuses that enter the demigod Forgotten Garden are core disciples of emperors. That Nan Gongsheng and Meng Shi are both stronger than half-step kings. Your death guards probably won't even be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Chapter 636. Thousand Darkness Sacred Clan. On the peak of the main spiritual peak, there was a bamboo forest covered in purple mist. Although you have a legendary bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, it's not a battle-type bloodline. If you fight head-on with Nan Gongsheng, your chances of winning are less than 50%. A faintly discernible voice came from a bamboo house. A faint fragrance rose from within the bamboo room. A peerlessly beautiful and flawless young girl in a pleated blue dress stood prettily on the spot. Her eyes were illusory like stars, and they were misty like a dream. Her jet black hair lay on the ground without a speck of dust, and she was like a celestial maiden that had descended into the world. Humph. Although Nan Gongsheng is the top genius of the sacred land, he's suffered a few times in front of me. Meng Shi gently stroked the waterfall of her hair. Her starry eyes were like crescent moons, as if she wasn't willing to accept this. A silver-haired figure with an empty aura sat in front of her. It was impossible to see whether the silver-haired figure was male or female. He was extremely simple, but he seemed to be a ball of air. You're the most talented disciple I've ever had. How could I not prepare for the demigod Forgotten Garden once every 500 years? The empty figure slowly opened his hand. Shwa! A special violet Qilin jade horn fell into Meng Shi's hand. This is... Meng Shi was slightly surprised. The horn contained a profound mental energy aura, but it wasn't a weapon. With this, your strength will be almost unparalleled in the demigod Forgotten Garden. Even Nan Gongsheng will have to fear you. The silver-haired figure smiled faintly. The morning of the second day, Mystic True Sacred Clan. On a large arena on the main spiritual peak, several half-step void god realms clashed together. 3 of them formed a group, a middle-aged man with a mustache, a cold youth, and a female in a green dress. On the other side was an arrogant youth in black clothes. He had one hand behind his back and released a bright silver light as he suppressed 3 half-step void god realms by himself. There were many spectators outside the arena. There were a few core disciples, a few kings, and 1 emperor. This Nan Gongsheng can suppress 3 half-step void god realms by himself, and he's doing it so easily. The true inheritors below the stage were all alarmed. What a freak! Nan Gongsheng, the top core disciple of the mystic true sacred clan. Meanwhile, apart from Meng Shi, who had the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, no other genius had been able to last more than 10 moves against him. Bang! On the arena, the 3 half-step king intents suddenly condensed together and pressed toward Nan Gongsheng. Xiao Qian felt a tremor in his soul. The surrounding essence energy seemed to freeze. His thoughts were suppressed to the point that they could not move. The 3 half-step kings will merged into one. The true inheritors below the stage felt their hearts palpitate as they felt suffocated. Even if Nan Gongsheng was a half-step king, it would be hard for him to deal with the combined attack of 3 half-step king intents. Break! The mystic silver light around Nan Gongsheng's body became dazzling, and his half-step king intent started to rise. Boom! An explosion sounded in the soul dimension, and a powerful invisible great god's magnificent power pierced through the physical world and the spiritual world. At that instant, the formation on the stage shuddered and dimmed. King Will. Everyone broke into an uproar. Only one of the emperors had a gratified expression. Bam! 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 The bodies of the 3 half-step kings shook as they were sent flying by the powerful king intent, and blood leaked out of their mouths. King intent? Could Nan Gongsheng have already become a king? No. His cultivation has stopped at the half-step king rank, but his soul has completed its evolution, and he has formed true void god realm king intent. Discussion broke out below the arena. At this moment many experts and geniuses looked at Nan Gongsheng with admiration and respect. After forming complete king intent, there was no longer any bottleneck for Nan Gongsheng to reach the void god realm. Boom! The new king intent broke through the clouds and merged into the void, summoning the power of the universe. Nan Gongsheng had become one with heaven and earth, and he had reached the ideal level of becoming one with the heavens. From then on, his intent contained the unstoppable magnificent power of a king that could instantly kill normal origin core realms. A new king intent. Could it be that the sacred land is going to give birth to another king? Many void god realm kings and even some emperors from the true martial sacred land arrived with their divine senses. However, their hearts shook when they found that the new king intent came from a junior genius of the sacred land. Nan Gongsheng is only 30 or so years old, but he's already formed king intent. As expected of the number 1 genius of the sacred land. He has both the spatial spiritual body and the heaven spiritual body, 2 of the strongest bodies in the world. Some kings sighed and sighed. Normal experts would spend 100 years or even several hundred years to become a void god realm king. However, Nan Gongsheng's talent was indeed top tier. The cultivation bodies were split into mortal, spiritual, earth, and heaven. Normal cultivators only had spiritual bodies. Back at the Guanjuan Palace, Zhao Feng and company only had half-spiritual bodies and normal spiritual bodies. Earth spiritual bodies were already very rare. However, Nan Gongsheng had the highest heaven spiritual body. On top of that, he also had a unique spatial spiritual body bloodline. The spatial spiritual body was extremely compatible with space and heaven and earth. Normal people couldn't inherit it, and it was a random bloodline. This made Nan Gongsheng one of the top talents in the sacred land. Only the other 2 10,000 ancient races bloodlines could be compared to him. Within the courtyard, Zhao Feng opened his eyes and suddenly felt the new king intent spread across the main spiritual peak. He's Nan Gongsheng. Zhao Feng's mental energy intent turned into 20 to 30 and shot through the air. Over the past couple days, Zhao Feng absorbed a large amount of the ancient dream realm aura to consolidate his cultivation. However, he had just broken through not long ago, and he had already witnessed the heroic appearance of the number one genius of the sacred land. King Intent. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. In front of this intent, which merged with the power of heaven and earth, everything else seemed minuscule. After all, this was a spiritual sacred land, a sacred land of the ocean. The geniuses of the 10 sacred lands were led by Nan Gongsheng, and there was the sacred dream faction fighting against each other. Nan Gongsheng represented the mystic true sacred clan, which was backed by the 3-star mystic true sacred clan. Meng Shi represented the Thousand Darkness sacred clan, which was backed by the 3-star Thousand Darkness sacred clan. After witnessing Nan Gongsheng's strength, Zhao Feng could imagine that Meng Shi, who supposedly had the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, wouldn't be weak either. Soon, the day of the demigod Forgotten Garden opening approached. The core disciples that were in seclusion all came out. The 10 geniuses of the sacred land all appeared, and they had all made significant improvements. At this moment, Zhao Feng also stopped cultivating and started to look at the information regarding the demigod Forgotten Garden. The demigod Forgotten Garden sounded like a garden. In reality, the demigod Forgotten Garden itself was a secret dimension with its own heaven and earth system. It was definitely on a much higher level than the Purple Saint ruins. After all, the Purple Saint ruins that Zhao Feng saw had already deteriorated and wasn't even 1/10 of its peak. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao. A voice sounded from outside the courtyard. Hearing that, Zhao Feng's spiritual sense instantly spread out and saw a sacred clan disciple. This sacred clan disciple was a youth wearing a green robe and seemed rather low-key. Senior Marshal Brother Dong. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and walked out of the courtyard. He had met many core disciples at the disciple recruitment ceremony last time. This senior Marshal Brother Dong was called Dong Wenjian, and he was one of them. More importantly, this Dong Wenjian was an in-name disciple of Duan Muqing. His father was a mid-level half-step king in the sect. Back then, Great Emperor Duanmu had accepted Dong Wenjian as an in-name disciple because he was touched by the latter's father's efforts. Dong Wenjian's talent was only average amongst the geniuses of the sacred land. Usually, Duan Muqing would spend most of his time in seclusion, and he would go into seclusion for several years at a time. Therefore, Duan Muqing didn't have many opportunities to teach Dong Wenjian. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, the demigod Forgotten Garden will open in 3 days. Master is outside, so how are your preparations going? Dong Wenjian said passionately. Both of them were disciples of an emperor. One was a core disciple, and the other was an in-name disciple. Although there was a difference in status, they were still from the same sect. Zhao Feng didn't have anyone he was familiar with in the sacred clan, so he could only walk with Dong Wenjian. I've made some progress in seclusion this time. I might not be able to fight against the 10 geniuses of the sacred land, but at least I won't embarrass Master. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and was quite humble. Dong Wenjian looked at Zhao Feng with a complicated gaze, which was filled with jealousy and wariness. Although they were both disciples of an emperor, the difference in treatment between them was huge. Dong Wenjian had earned his spot in the demigod Forgotten Garden through his own hard work. He was 35 this year, and his cultivation had reached the peak small origin core realm. His strength wasn't even close to the 10 geniuses of the sacred land. However, Dong Wenjian couldn't help but admire Zhao Feng's talent and strength. Zhao Feng was only in his 20s, 23 at most, but his cultivation and strength were already astonishing. Dong Wenjian had also seen how Zhao Feng defeated Zhuo Hong in 10 moves. Dong Wenjian knew that he wouldn't be able to last more than 30 moves in front of Zhao Feng. He wanted to see it this time. Zhao Feng's cultivation had broken through to the late-stage small origin core realm, and the aura within his body gave Dong Wenjian a lot of pressure. On the same day, Zhao Feng and Dong Wenjian talked to each other in the sacred land. There were only two goals. One was to exchange information about the demigod Forgotten Garden. The demigod Forgotten Garden had existed for so many years, and the information that the emperors had was different. Some great emperors might have even more complete information on them. For example, Emperor Duanmu was always in seclusion and kept a low profile. The information he had wouldn't be bad, but it definitely wouldn't be complete. There was also another goal. If they came from the same force, they could help each other when they entered the demigod Forgotten Garden. Because of this, Dong Wenjian went around to befriend some core disciples. After all, there were 2 sacred clans and 33 two-star sects that entered the demigod Forgotten Garden. It was normal for geniuses of the sacred land to fight in the demigod Forgotten Garden. Time flew by. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day the demigod Forgotten Garden that only opened once every 500 years was finally about to open. When a magnificent power that could shake heaven and earth was released from the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. The outline of a colorful garden appeared in the corner of the sacred peak like a mirage. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.